This podcast is brought to you by eHarmony, the dating app to find someone you can be yourself with. Why doesn't eHarmony allow copy and paste in first messages? Because you are unique, and your conversations should reflect that. eHarmony wants you to find someone who will get you. How are you going to know who gets you if people send you the same generic conversation starters they message everyone else? Conversations that actually help you get to know each other. Imagine that. Get who gets you on eHarmony. Sign up today.
Worried about letting someone else pick out the perfect avocado for your perfect impress-them-on-the-third-date guacamole? Well, good thing Instacart shoppers are as picky as you are. They find ripe avocados like it's their guac on the line. They are milk expiration date detectives. They bag eggs like the 12 precious pieces of cargo they are. So let Instacart shoppers overthink your groceries so that you can overthink what you'll wear on that third date. Download the Instacart app today to get free delivery on your first 3 orders, while supplies last. Minimum $10 per order. Additional terms apply.
You better not have no plans tonight.
Movie time and it's feeling right.
You're looking for a love that lasts. You'll find it at Romancing the Podcast. Ooh, baby, you had me at hello. Ooh, I love you.
I know.
Ooh, baby, you're the wind beneath my wings. Ooh, I'll have what she's having.
Thank you for tuning into Romancing the Pod. You had us at hello. I'm Paige Wesley.
And I'm Todd Schlosser. And joining us today, we have
Andrea Guzzetta! Yay!
That's me!
I love that we just did that and yelled so loud, and Paige just woke up 4 minutes ago.
Oh my God.
Literally 4 minutes ago. I'm going to sound like I woke up 4 minutes ago for a bit. I'm sorry.
That's why I brought it up, because you do sound like you just woke up.
I sound terrible. This is also, because I was up watching, we're recording multiple episodes today. So I was watching multiple movies. And during one, I'm Googling voice lozenges. So this is especially prescient, I would say, that I sound this bad.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a solid vocab word, prescient. Ooh.
Oh, thank you. I was just pretending to be a character from the movie.
Yes!
If you had pretentious on your bingo card, go ahead and mark that off.
Nailed it.
Yeah, so we should tell you that Paige made us watch Booksmart this week.
Booksmart!
Have you guys seen this movie before?
Yes.
My boyfriend made me watch it because he goes, I think you will relate to these characters.
That's why I chose it for you. I have a list of movies for the next couple weeks as we navigate guests and stuff. And I was like, yeah, I think this one will be good for Andrea.
100%.
Yeah.
We have gayness. We have 2 best friends that are kind of gay together, but not really gay together.
Not quite.
We have girls who are taking their studies too seriously and not making friends in high school.
Yeah.
Checking a lot of boxes that I also have checked.
Yay.
I mean, honestly, they checked a lot of boxes for me, too. I saw a lot of myself in the shit that they were doing and stuff. I had way more fun in high school than they did, though.
Yeah.
Not me.
I did not.
I was in the band.
Oh, well.
Oh,
no.
yeah. Todd was checking some boxes in band as well.
Yeah, he was the band box checker. I was the 2 people who were trying to do Shakespeare in the parking lot of Whole Foods.
Oh, Paige. They were cute, though.
They were very cute. I was like, murder mystery party. Sign me up.
The guy who's hosting the murder mystery party is my favorite part of this movie, just candidly. He is
hilarious.
My favorite character. He's so, funny. He's so funny, obviously. But it's also,
he's giving 200% at every point.
Yeah.
oh, he's giving it. When he is I'd like to dedicate this song to my cast. And then he sings You Ought to Know. And then at the end, he screams his friend's name. I was like, oh, this guy is going through it, and I love this man's journey. I'm here for it. The pettiness of dedicating You Ought to Know to your cast. So funny.
So good. I think Gigi's my favorite character.
Gigi is a god in this movie, and I will not hear otherwise. She is
she's everywhere at once.
appearing anywhere you need her and coming through in a clutch in what I will call casually lazy, but very helpful ways.
Yes. Yeah. I feel like it's the one time I have excused a blatant disregard for causality in film.
Oh, no, it's so funny.
Because clearly she's some sort of deity. Like, it's clearly intentional and played for a joke.
100%.
Yeah.
The first time that they do it, they're like, that's not plausible. And then the next time that they do it, you're like, oh, I love this bit. You know, like, so you're immediate, and then they do it 5 more times.
It's a great bit.
It's so great.
Yes.
I do think the movie treats her like a fairy godmother character. I'm not even, that's not even a joke. Like, I think that is her role in the movie, and I love it.
Yeah.
And Miss Fine,
Yes.
Fine. She's the meaning of the goddess. Like, it all lines up.
As far as screenwriting structure, this is structured very, very well.
It is.
I think it's one of the best written movies that I've ever seen.
Same.
Todd and I were talking about this a little bit earlier. The way that they add in they sprinkle in these little bits that you think are just a joke. And then it's Chekhov's library card where oh, it's actually, they're going to use that. Like they sprinkle it in as a bit and then suddenly it's meaningful to the plot. So it's like they do that so well and they tie up all the loose ends.
Or the guy in the car who knows way too much about how to murder people actually being a murderer.
Actually becomes a murderer.
So good.
And then that coming back and being how she gets out of jail that morning. Like that is
so good.
So good. Like I'll just say, Paige told us before that this was a more high school girl coming of age story.
This is a coming of age movie. There's still a love story in it, but yes.
I'm not going to say it's not a rom-com on some level. That's not my point. My point is that I thought I would just watch the movie and then we'd have Andrea on and I would just sit down and listen. You know, it was going to be one of those episodes. You know, I'm not saying I don't need it.
Women.
You know, but that's not normally what the vibe is. And I thought that's what the vibe of this movie was going to be because it wasn't going to be accessible to me as a guy who went through high school or whatever, you know.
Periods.
But I loved this movie. I thought it was awesome.
So good.
I related to a lot of the shit that they were talking about. And having one friend who was very, very close and is also the only friend who could say very, very hurtful things to you. And that moment, even though it's very sad when it happens, felt very real to me.
Yeah.
You know, because the systems that build up around friendships, it is like a relationship, just like a platonic one.
Yeah.
Anyway, I loved it. I thought this movie was stellar.
Especially when you're in school and you feel like you're an outcast or you feel like this is the only person who gets me and you invest so much into that friendship that it's kind of maybe not always super healthy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially at that time in your life.
Yeah.
Because you are just so lucky, glad to have a friend, you know, because you, that time in your life is a very lonely and isolating time in your life. So you will do anything to make sure you have your friend, you know, I got why she sort of bent around, why Amy sort of bent around Molly. Yeah.
Yep.
Because Molly was the stronger personality. And I also think that Amy needed to get away from, not away necessarily, but put a boundary there. And that's what is happening in that scene, more or less. Even though it's fucking devastating. I mean, I cried a little bit during that scene.
It's sad.
Because it is so sad, but it needed to happen.
It is, but at the end, they're still friends, but they respect that boundary. That boundary still exists. Yeah.
I think that their relationship after that conversation will last the rest of their life. Instead of Amy going away to Africa and never really talking to Molly much.
Right.
Because she realizes that friendship was a little self-serving on Molly's side.
Yep.
Right.
So I feel like that boundary is actually what sets them up for success. It's not a romantic relationship, which is normally what we talk about, but as a friend, having a friend for life, you know?
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of people compare this to Superbad and call this lady Superbad.
I think it's way better than that.
I think so too.
Yes.
But I definitely see why you got there, because it's a one-night high school rager kind of a movie.
Right.
Yeah.
I feel like this is a time to reveal a piece of Paige's film history. I've only walked out of a handful of movies, and Superbad was one of them. In the theaters, walked out. Now, here's the thing. I have gone back and watched it. I actually do really like Superbad, but part of the reason I walked out is a way that I think this movie succeeds instead of Superbad. As I have talked about many times, I think Judd Apatow's movies are 20 minutes too long. Superbad, I think, is the most obvious 20 minutes too long.
It's the most 20 minutes too long of all of his movies.
Yes.
I see where you're going. Yeah.
And the 20 minutes is front loaded in the beginning, and it is a handful of gags with them still in school before we have gotten to the central, like, moving part of the movie, which is the party that night.
Yeah.
It's too much that day that is trying to get us to know them. However, none of those scenes serve to get us to know them very well, and they definitely don't serve to get us to like them very well. Now, I will say that later in Superbad, as the movie goes on, you actually do end up liking them, and it does do a lot of that emotional work, but you have to get through that first 20 minutes. Conversely, this movie takes the first 20 minutes and sets us up for everything we will need for the rest of the movie.
Yep.
We understand who they are. We even understand the problems in their relationship in that first 20 minutes.
Yep.
And we understand why we should like them and why we should root for them, even though they are flawed human beings. And I feel like it's more just a structure question between the two movies, but I think that's why I enjoy this one more. Not to say that Superbad's not enjoyable. I think the ending of Superbad is fantastic.
So great.
But I think overall as a movie, I definitely enjoy this more, and it is that 20 minutes. It's that time.
Something I also loved about this that is not as common of a trope is I think a lot of times there is the nerd outcast trope where everyone else is the problem.
Yep.
And in this film, they realize, oh, we are the problem.
Yep.
Everyone else is actually pretty cool. Like, they're flawed, they're doing their own thing, but no one is outright rejecting them or telling them they suck or anything else. They're just like, you aren't very nice to people and you never want to hang out with us. So, like, we don't have time for you. But they have built it up in their head like they're better than everyone else.
Yep.
And no one else is thinking of them that way.
No, it is truly a movie about their journey of self-discovery and change.
Yes.
So it makes it more impactful than an us against the world kind of thing. And I think most people have had a situation where someone they thought was mean or not nice to them or whatever turned out to be nicer than they thought.
100%.
And so I think at a base level, that ends up being relatable in this movie, even if you don't directly relate to the two girls that we're following.
I think it feels more like a real life story because of what you guys are describing as well. Because like, that is sort of the journey that I went on in high school. Like I thought everyone thought about me as much as I thought about me because I was a stupid high schooler. And I didn't realize that like...
And people don't.
It wasn't that people didn't like me. It's that they just didn't know me for various reasons. Like they weren't on the soccer team or in the band, so they didn't know me, you know?
Yeah, and people don't think about other people as much as you would think.
No, yeah, exactly. I'm not saying they 100%. Should have thought about me more.
Yeah. No. It's a good thing.
Yeah, it's honestly, it's great. Because all those times I spilled like something on my pants and I was like, everyone's going to think I shit myself or peed on myself or whatever.
No one noticed.
And no one even fucking noticed because it was down by my knee and they definitely knew it wasn't going to be there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. You would have had a long drop and like pants angle. It would have been a tough sell.
Todd, your pants are too tight for it to have fallen that far is what you're saying. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. We would have seen the log in the chute or whatever.
The log in the chute.
Yes.
Never had it described that way, but...
You know what I'm saying.
I know what you're saying.
Agree.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like that's a lesson I feel like people constantly have to relearn, myself included. Like,
oh, sure.
I constantly have to be like, no one's going to notice this.
Yeah.
No one's going to notice this. No one's going to care. No one's paying that much attention to you. Like, no one will care. It's like, you know, if you want to dress cool, you got to start remembering that no one cares.
100%.
Because you got to wear the thing that you're like, but people will. No, they won't. They don't care.
The older you get, the more I realize no one gives a fuck. You can literally do anything as long as it's not a crime. And even then, sometimes a little bit of crime.
Sometimes you can do crimes. I did crimes recently, and everyone I've told about it was like, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Paige, you told the whole world about it on The Horror Virgin, like literally 2 episodes ago or so.
Yeah, and I was not scared.
I committed a felony Wednesday.
Calling the cops on top right now.
Good luck finding him. We've made a lot of precautions to not have our addresses on the internet.
Smart.
But knowing me, I'll just like show it on the podcast at some point.
On a Zoom call. Todd accidentally put his credit card on Twitch.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. That happened.
Todd, no.
I had to buy a game, Andrea, and I didn't realize.
Because Mikey and I were egging him on.
Yeah.
Like, we watched it happen.
No.
It was like deer in headlights. I had to like call my bank and immediately like put a stop on the card and then have them send me another card. It was a nightmare.
It was really really funny.
It was very funny. Looking back, it was very funny. I was very mad at myself at the time.
I know it's terrible. That's such a pain in the ass.
Such a pain.
So when they're, not to transition us away from this very embarrassing story about me to the movie, but when they are talking bad about Molly in the bathroom, and then she walks out, because I think one of them is like, oops, and I wanted the really high guy with the long hair to be like, poops. I thought that would have been funny.
Because it's a bathroom.
Yeah. He's also like really high all the time, and 20? He's 20?
So I, for some reason, remembered that he lied to her about being 20, but then on a rewatch, I did never see him correct it. He may be 20.
They actually set that up. Like, he failed the seventh grade.
Failed the 7th grade twice.
Right.
So now he's like a genius.
Oh, you're right. Yes, he is
Motherfucker
20.
actually 20. Like,
yeah.
That's the reason Miss Fine. That's the reason she's like, you're actually 20, right? When she walked into that party, I was like, oh no.
And she waited till she was technically no longer teaching him, but still, it's still cringe, but great.
But I also think that Miss Fine, as a character, we see that, like, the girls think she's so fucking cool, but she's friends with 2 children.
Yep.
And she doesn't have a lot else going on in her life.
Correct.
So, like, her sleeping with Theo is like, that is a character failing on her part and maybe a wake-up call.
It's her rock bottom.
Yeah, it's her rock bottom. She's like, maybe I need to find adult friends and hobbies.
Yes.
That aren't the New York Times crossword puzzle.
I don't think she's going about it the right way, because, like, drinking at a high schooler's end-of-year party is not the way to find age-appropriate friends.
100%
No, and I do love that she's like, wouldn't it be crazy if I went? Just kidding, have a good time. And I was like, that was her testing the waters.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, because it's not okay.
No.
What Miss Fine does is not okay.
I do think it's very funny that they fight over who's going to sit in the front seat. Like, that was so funny to me.
Well, and the line where she's like, I'm a single woman in Los Angeles. I have tons of clothes in my car. And I was like, this is real.
So relatable.
This is so real to my lived experience.
When I was doing stand-up, I had full shoe changes, outfit changes. What if my car breaks down? I don't want to have to change a tire. So I had like coveralls. Like, I had everything in the back of my car.
Yeah, I was a car bag lady until I got married, and it drives my husband nuts. And so he, all the time, will do a very nice thing and clean my car. And then I will go out to my car and live my crazy stand-up life for a night and be like, yeah, I think I got a jacket. Fuck! Like, no! Like, my closet's gone! It's a crazy thing that we do here is drive with tons of clothes in our car, and we look messy, but it's because we're always ready for an outfit change.
That can't be an LA only thing though, right? Like,
no, probably not. I think I've lived that way for a long time.
Yeah, that's got to be just like an age group sort of thing. Although I will admit, like, because you guys did stand up, you probably needed outfits for that. So, like,
yeah,
it happened often enough that I would never clean them out, like, because it was always useful.
Yeah.
Well, and this thing happens too, where like going somewhere in LA is 45 minutes away from my house.
Yeah.
It's not a quick little jaunt.
Right.
And then you get there and then it's colder than you thought, because if you're closer to the ocean, sometimes it's colder.
Yep.
If it's nighttime, sometimes it's colder. Sometimes, you know, like, there's just a lot of factors. I'm saying, as a woman.
Listen, you don't have to sell me on the idea of dressing in layers. I think I've established a personal brand of doing just that, and I agree with you. It's the right way to do it.
I didn't usually do it in layers. For me, it would be like, okay, I've got to go to the office, then I've got to go to a dinner, then I've got to go to a show, then I'm going to be hanging out after the show. So I technically have 4 outfits for the day. And some of them are a variation on what I'm wearing, but a lot of times it's like, all right, I have outfits for day work and outfits for night work, and I have to change in my car probably and like figure out how to kind of switch out the outfit pieces. But that means that you have like 2 to 3 outfits worth of clothes in your car at all times.
I mean, I would do this all the time when I was in college, because like I would have to go like from class to like the restaurant I waited tables at.
Yep.
So like I would have like a variation of my work uniform in my car.
Yep.
Yeah, all the time. I changed in that parking lot a million times.
I used to, when I worked in retail, change in my office.
Yeah.
All the time. And like walk in an apron and yoga pants and like disheveled, and then come out full beat for a show. And people were like, what? You mean you could look like that all the time and you're just not putting in an effort?
I not to again transition us back into talking about the movie, but I've never felt more seen by a line of dialogue than when Jason Sudeikis says, "Was that Cardi B?"
I thought about you when that happened. I thought about you when it happened.
I wouldn't fucking know.
You should. Cardi B is a bop. This whole soundtrack is a bop.
Oh, I loved
It is. Run the Jewels?
Run the Jewels, Anderson .Paak, the was it Death Grips?
Yeah.
Fuck
Yeah.
yes.
I have since I watched this last night, been listening to Anderson .Paak and Silk Sonic,
Oh yeah.
which is him and Bruno Mars. Since then, I went to Kroger this morning and I listened to the whole, it was great.
Yes.
Yeah.
As a card-carrying Run the Jewels fan, the last segment of this movie, I'm just like, fuck yeah.
That's my favorite.
Air punching the whole way.
The best Run the Jewels song. It's so good.
It's so good. I mean, I like a lot of Run the Jewels, so I'm clearly biased.
Yeah.
I had to try and talk two white girls into seeing Killer Mike later this summer. It did not work. So our friends who used to have a podcast used to use that Death Grip song as their intro song.
Opening.
Because, spoiler, Death Grips could not have cared less about a tiny podcast that they thought no one listened to. And so it also gave me nostalgia vibes to hear that song.
Me
And then
too.
Anderson .Paak just fucking slaps all day, every day, twice on Sundays.
Well, do you guys want to go through this movie scene by scene?
Let's
do
get
it.
it.
Let's get it.
We open with no credits. You're welcome, Todd. We open
I love it.
Fuck them credits.
on Beanie Feldstein's character Molly listening to daily aspirations, daily what do you call them?
Affirmations.
Is the word I was looking for.
Aspirations is close. I do love that they're cussing. They're adult.
Yeah.
I love that.
It's so funny.
It was funny.
Well, and it's you worked harder than fucking everyone, and that's why they're stupid.
You're a badass bitch from the motherfucking streets. And she's just sitting
I love it.
cross-legged, breathing it in.
Soaking
It's
it all in.
so awesome.
Yeah. Well, because I love that it sets up that she really thinks she's better than everyone.
Yes.
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 I'm a fucking shark. I'm better than all of you. I'm serious and you guys are stupid. You know what I mean? It's her internal self.
It's her internal monologue. I feel like most affirmations, if other people in your life were to listen to them, would be like, hey.
Paige and I used to trade nonsensical affirmations.
Those are my favorite.
Those are my favorite.
It would just be you are in the becomingness of the beingness of your root chakra. Because of this, you need to exercise your will to become the unicorn of tomorrow.
All the time.
Word association.
All the time.
So you just need to do kegels? What does that mean? What does that
Exactly,
it means nothing.
Todd. Exactly.
Exactly. So Andrea and I trade memes all day, every day for the last 5-6 years.
Lately, so many Bridgerton memes.
Oh yeah, it's been all Bridgerton for the last 2 weeks, and no regrets. So happy about it.
I think we learned last episode that Paige has been season 3 of Bridgerton this whole time.
The whole time. It is so healing to watch a chubby woman have the horniest season.
Yeah.
The horniest season.
We followed a woman that we knew in person who was trying to become a life coach. And she would post these affirmations. Now, oddly enough, she's done kind of a 180. She's still life coaching, but all of her content now is aggressively relatable, and it's making me uncomfortable. Because originally, it was just word salad of just sit in the quietness of your butt chakra or whatever. And it was nonsense.
It didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
It didn't make any sense. And we used to make fake versions of her memes and send them to each other, just like we're making fun Bridgerton memes now.
I have really strong feelings that a lot of manifestation is just white privilege. So
yes.
those are my personal feelings about some of the woo-woo stuff in the world. But
yeah, I mean, I think you have to be careful with it and acknowledge that it's not just because you manifested something sometimes.
Yeah.
Because that can also, I feel manifesting often leads to imposter syndrome too, because this was something I was struggling with a lot as I was going through the last few weeks of really busy stuff where I was I'm not funny enough to be here. Why did they let me do this?
Fuck you're not funny enough. That's insane.
Fuck you, Paige.
But
That's
it was
insane,
this
Paige.
pervasive thought.
No, I get it. Imposter syndrome's a bitch. I deal with it too. So I get it. But fuck you, you're not funny enough. That's insane.
And that was one of my very close friends had to be they literally flew you to Asia to do this one time.
Yeah. They flew you to Japan.
They flew you to Asia, and this comedy contest was so sure you'd win and be here that they put your name all over everything.
Yeah.
And I was
100%.
that's fair. I guess there is circumstantial evidence to support.
But sometimes, and I struggle with this too, so I know, that doesn't fucking matter at all.
It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter that you told me all of that. My brain is still just like, yeah, but we fucking suck, right?
Bro, I get it. I get it, bro.
Yes.
It sucks.
What's your affirmation, Todd? Do you have any?
I don't have affirmations. I don't really like, quote, manifest things, although I will say the things that I want to go after.
Sure.
Yeah.
Of
But I'm
course.
also a workaholic. So for me, it's all about the work. I'm all about
100%.
actually doing it, actually getting it done, that kind of stuff, which makes me very successful at things like this. And
you work very hard at.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
worked
exactly.
harder than everyone, and that's what they're fucking
Yeah.
stupid. That's your affirmation.
I mean,
You have the same one Beanie Feldstein has. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I'm not saying I didn't see a lot of myself in Molly on some level.
Oh, yeah.
But I also saw a lot of myself in Jason Sudeikis. But yeah. Oh, and if we're being honest, I saw a lot of myself in the guy who hosts the murder mystery party. I think his name was George.
Yes.
But like, I ultimately am a straight version of that guy because I'm very showy. I'm sort of flamboyant. I love musicals. And I would definitely host a murder mystery dinner themed party and make my parents stay in the kitchen.
He
Yeah.
would also say, I have worked harder than everyone, and that's why I deserve things.
Yeah.
Which I understand that affirmation. I get it.
I think for me, it's more I've worked so, like, this is something that I've said to Natalie so many times. I'm like, I have reached a level of success that is somewhat comfortable.
Sure.
I feel like I've worked super fucking hard to get there.
Yes.
Because I grew up very poor.
Right.
And I think it's ridiculous that I had to work this hard to get to a somewhat comfortable life.
Sure.
Yeah.
I feel like the only thing that I want to do is make it easier for younger generations to get to middle class.
There you go.
Because it's so hard. It's fucking so hard. Anyway.
What middle class, Todd? Never heard of it.
Yeah.
Todd and I are the only two people here. Andrea.
I really do think I am like very lucky. I'm so lucky to be where I am in the middle class. And I've worked so hard. And it's so stupid that people have to work that hard.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Recording in my kitchen, because that's the only place with the door that closes.
That closes. This used to be me recording in what was also Jake and I's bedroom, which is why I could only record until certain times because Jake
Yeah.
had to sleep.
Yeah.
I moved all of my recording equipment from the room into the kitchen so that Brandon could sleep in.
Yeah.
Oh, what's your affirmation, Andrea? Or variation of?
It was the one from SNL. It's I'm good enough, I'm smart enough,
And gosh darn it, people like
Darn it,
me.
people
Jack
like
Handy,
me.
yeah.
Jack Handy.
I
Yeah.
love Jack Handy. So funny.
My mom used to quote that all the time, and I was like, you know what? That's true. People actually do seem to like me. I don't know why, but I appreciate it so much.
There you go.
Yeah.
Mine is kind of a self-serving asshole one that I'm not proud of, but I will vulnerably admit in this moment, and it's just, my life is already cooler than everyone I know, which is a real self-serving asshole thing to say. But it's one of those things where, like, sometimes at work or something, when I get frustrated in my day job, I'm like, my life is already cooler than everyone I know. I can let this go. I don't need to be a dick about this. I don't need to fight with this.
Yeah.
I already have enough things.
Enough cool things.
Right?
Yeah.
I think sometimes I think about like the foil to imposter syndrome is I have seen less talented people more successful than me, so I know I can get there. And that is that keeps me going.
Not to be a dick about it, but Picasso exists. So
yeah,
yeah.
fuck that rapist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
he literally, like, it's stick figures, guys. Like, come on.
It's actually African masks. He basically was like, African masks, what if we put them on ladies? But boobs were pointy, and then
Yeah.
art.
I went to a whole exhibit and I was like, well, I don't think I understand visual art. That's like how much I didn't like it.
This is a thing with Todd. Todd doesn't necessarily do great with visual art, but he likes other art forms, and that's okay. Everyone's a little different.
I will say this, there has been one piece, there's like one art. This is so nerdy, guys.
One art.
There is one art
There's one.
that has like evoked emotion that I wasn't personally connected to, because honestly, the only painting I have in my house that I would grab in a fire is one that Andrea made for us. And it's a cupcake. It's like, of the dog that we lost. And it's like, I love that painting. But the only one that I haven't been emotionally connected to that I was like, oh, I like that a lot, is an artist that does art under the name of Robots and Rowboats. And that is what it is. And it's adorable, and I love them. Like, they're the best. I don't even know the name of the artist. I just know the name of the series. And I think the website is Robots and Robots.
I have it on Google.
Yeah. Is that the website?
Yeah, I want to see it.
Guys, it's so cute.
They have an Etsy store.
They do. I have 2 of their prints. I saw them at a place in Austin.
It looks very Iron Giant.
Yeah, it's so cute. But isn't it like, it's like very adorable Iron Giant style robots. They're not always in rowboats, but it's great. Anyway.
They're doing fun stuff.
Oh yeah, hanging out with dogs.
Yeah. It's cute. Check it out. But it's weird to me that like Picasso did nothing for me and he's like this famous artist. But like this Robots and Rowboats, I was like, I can connect with this.
Here's the terrible thing, because I went to the Picasso Museum in Spain. I think it was in Bilbao. And I know he's a bad person, but I still was like, vibes. This would look so dope in my house if I lived in like a James Bond lair, right?
I get it. The more that you learn about art history, the more like we talk about it on Podvant Guard a lot, but there is a lot of weird art stuff like Jackson Pollock. People are like, I never get Jackson Pollock. He's the guy that like just threw paint.
Yeah.
But the fact is that the CIA artificially inflated the prices of Jackson Pollock's work by buying it as a fuck you to Russia to prove that we were a freer country than them, which is insane, but actually true.
Yep.
So like there's a lot of art where if you're like, I don't get it, it's like no one gets it.
It's money laundering.
It's
like,
money
stop
laundering.
thinking about it.
Yeah. It's fine.
Yeah.
We had a museum that we would go to in high school for field trips, and they had like a whole Pollock wing. And there was one that they like, because I went to a super conservative high school, they didn't want us to see. But one of them was Jackson Pollock covered him and his partner in paint, and then they just fucked on a canvas. And
I did that as a project in college as well.
fuck, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I was like, this is awesome. Like, I get this art.
It is not comfortable, let me tell you.
Oh, I believe it. Because I'd be worried about, like, wrecking the canvas.
Oh, yeah.
No.
Yeah, you would be. I'm going to wreck that canvas. I'm going to wreck that canvas, girl.
I'm going to tear this canvas up. But the real problem is that being wet, then the paint starts to dry on your body,
no.
and then you're cold, and then it's like it's like removes all of your body heat, and so it makes it difficult for someone to keep their erection.
That makes sense.
Just so you know.
Thank you for telling me, and I don't know if there's a way to solve that problem, but thank you for allowing me to amend a fantasy I've had for a long time.
Yeah. You think it would be hot, but it is not. It's very cold,
not.
actually. It's very cold. 0 stars.
That's great. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Anyway, her friend Amy comes to pick her up from school.
Oh, shit. We actually got into the movie already. I forgot.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did.
We should talk about it.
That's how we talked about affirmations. So the station wagon pulls up, and they do a wonderful, like, little dance, a little, like,
So
hyping
cute.
each other up before school. You learn who they are in 5 seconds.
I love it.
So
It is the
adorable.
best introduction to both of these characters. Because, like, you know, Molly's just coming out of Daniel LaRusso's childhood home and, like, walking down the steps and, like, just dancing. And then Amy gets out of the car, right, and starts dancing with her, too.
Yeah.
It's so dumb. It's so funny. I love it.
I also love that we never meet Molly's parents. I
Never.
have no idea who her parents are.
Never once.
I thought we do see them.
We meet Amy's
We
parents.
meet Amy's parents.
We never meet Molly's parents.
Then whose dad is Will Forte?
Those are Amy's parents.
Oh, shit. You're right. Fuck.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
They're at Amy's house.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Okay. Wild.
Yeah, it's wild. So they pull up in the station wagon to school in their parking space that used to say class president and now has been crossed out to say ass president.
Love it.
Solid joke.
Great.
Solid visual joke.
Fantastic.
And we basically get kind of an overview of what their school life is. We know their class of 2019. It's the last day of school. Everyone's stoked. They go in to talk to Jason Sudeikis, who is their principal, because she needs to go over the budget for the next class.
The one that's transitioning in, as she says.
Yes.
She's such a fucking nerd. I love it.
Because the peaceful transition of power, because she's the class president. And again, I'm pretty sure every other class president's like, I could not give a fuck.
Yeah.
But she does.
So much.
Because she does care about doing a job well.
Hey, can I just say this? Speaking as a former high school band president,
Sure. This high school junior class president will receive this information from you.
well, it's going to be very affirmative for what you just said, because I did not give a shit about any of that stuff. I was like, I graduated barely. I'm getting the fuck out of here.
Before they change their minds.
Yes.
Right.
Before I get, instead of a diploma, a bill from the school, you know, like that kind
From
of
the
stuff.
school,
Yeah.
They're like, trade. I, as junior class president, handed everything over to my friend who became senior class president.
Oh.
And I was like, you hang on to this. I'm going to go take 3 different periods of art in a row for my entire afternoon, my senior year.
So jealous.
Perfect plan. It was great. No regrets.
I was taking AP classes like they fucking mattered. And then I got to art school and they're like, we do not accept AP calculus credits. I was like, why did I do this to myself?
Yeah.
I nailed, and I mean nailed AP English, multiple AP English classes, and then got to school, and the school I was at considered English, humanities, which was also the same as film, which meant that none of my credits counted. All of those classes I had taken didn't really do anything for me.
So annoying.
But yeah, but that's where I learned to use Final Cut to edit videos and stuff, was in taking 3 periods of art back to back, which is probably how I ended up where I am today. In a weird roundabout way.
That's amazing, actually.
I'm only saying this because Andrea's here and I respect her opinion as an artiste.
Of course.
But I want to show you the two prints I have of the robots and robots. Is that cool?
Yeah, of course.
Let's do it.
So that's the first one.
Oh, that's very cute.
Oh, he's like a sad robot.
He's just thinking.
He's an island.
Yeah, his head is the island.
His head has become
That's
the island.
Cute.
Yeah, I think that's really cute. And the little boat off in the distance and the rest of his body's under the water.
Well, yeah, because the boat is the representation of people in society, and this robot is clearly feeling separated from them.
Yes, I like it. And this one's also going to reinforce that motif, I think, a little bit.
It's called Todd Needs Therapy.
Yeah, I was like, Todd, are you okay?
That's what this painting should be called.
So this is the other one, which is a robot overlooking a nice little lake that by himself. It's really cute.
Just observing nature. He does he's like a cross between the Iron Giant and Bender.
Yeah.
And I like
I like that little heart he got right there on the back of his helmet.
I love that the bird is on, as my dad would call it, a great blue herring.
Oh, yeah. Instead of a heron? Yeah.
It's a great blue heron, but my dad calls them great blue herrings, which is really cute.
So those paintings, if you want to look them up, are NatureBot and IslandBot, which I think match with what the description is.
Yeah.
Anyway, but let's get back into the movie. I'm so sorry.
No, it's all good. So as they're going through their last day of school, we kind of meet the cast of characters that we will meet along the rest of the movie. So one of the first we meet is Triple A. And we're told that that's her nickname because she gave roadside assistance to multiple dudes. The implication being she hooked up with a bunch of guys in cars. We will get a real story about that later that I love.
The fucking real story is so great.
Me too.
Man.
So good.
Yeah.
When they bring it back around, amazing. They also introduce a character that we never see. He's never fully identified. We just know that his name is Dick Splinter. And I love that everyone's like, well, yeah, that's a true nickname. Much like, I think it was a couple episodes that I revealed we called a guy in college Baby Arm and didn't know his real name.
Oh my God.
It was massive. And then we ran into him at a wedding much later and had to be like, what's Baby Arm's real name?
Oh, I
Apparently
remember.
It was John. Yeah. So this is also where we meet Miss Fine, because they're all going to Miss Fine's class. It implies that she's either their first class of the day or homeroom, depending on how your school was set up.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they, because it's the last day of school, they used to do the New York Times crossword with her, notoriously difficult. And she then gives them her number. Did either of you have a teacher that you were close enough with to continue talking to after?
I have one teacher that was also my head of 4-H. And I was a mathlete and she was a geometry teacher. And she would email us after we graduated every year on Pi Day.
Oh, that's fun.
To ask how we use math in our everyday life so she could share it with her students, which is really cute. So sometimes she will check in.
Good Lord. That is the cutest thing I've ever heard in my life. I love that.
So fucking cute. And I actually use math a lot as an artist. So I would always be like,
I was going to say, of the three of us, you probably actually use the most math.
I use math all the fucking time and I hate it. But yeah, I use math all the time.
My French teacher, who is now no longer a teacher, but she was in the process of getting married. I ended up going to her wedding right after, but she came to hang out with us after graduation, or the week of graduation. It was literally days before or whatever. And we went and TP'd another student's house, and that student's neighbor came out with a gun.
Oh,
and
no.
we took off running and got back to the house, and we were like, oh my God. And she had a Miss Fine realization of I've made a horrible mistake. I was an adult in charge of these children, and now we've all been in a dangerous situation. I shouldn't have even been here. And she was
yeah.
I'm going to go. And like, I still am friends with her on Facebook and stuff. But watching this movie, I was like, yeah. I mean, like, that's kind of what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. No one got hurt. Everyone's fine. But
Miss Fine?
Miss Fine, I watched the realization on her face, which in watching this movie does make me chuckle a bit.
I didn't have any teachers that I would exchange digits with, no.
That's fair. It's probably inappropriate to do.
I had a lot of teachers I liked a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of my high school teachers were like formative people in my life, especially my high school drum instructor, who we called Mrs. D, but her name is Julie Davila. She's like the first fucking, let's just say she got very far in the percussive societies. Like, she is amazing. One of the best instructors in the world.
Oh, shit.
I still talk to her all the time. Well, not all the time, but like on Facebook. You know, we interact on Facebook, but that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, from high school. But I mean, like, those people, very formative. But I'm not going to call Coach Douthit. I also, I knew my high school math teacher's home phone number my senior year, but that's only because I blackmailed him for him to pass me.
To pass you?
I think I've told you this story, Paige, on an episode before.
No, what?
Well, this is because you were dating his daughter, right?
I wasn't, but I did woo her in attempts to get him to...
He courted the lady.
Yes.
You courted a lady purely for blackmail as a child, Todd?
I was 17 at the time. Yeah, child.
Yeah, as a child.
Yeah.
That's 4D chess, bro. Like, what?
I wanted to pass. I wanted to go to college. I had to pass.
What was the blackmail?
That I wouldn't date her.
Oh my God, Todd.
If he passed.
Hey, I didn't date her.
He held up his end of the bargain. There you go.
Yeah. I listen, Andrea, I have been terrible in my life. You met me way after I started therapy.
Oh my God.
Everyone's a little bit terrible sometimes.
Yeah.
You heard me earlier when I was like, my life is cool.
I would never even consider that an option.
Oh, you wouldn't consider blackmailing somebody and potentially hurting, his daughter's feelings?
No.
Yeah, that's because you had what is that called, Paige? Other people have them, a conscience. I'm not saying it was a good thing to do. I feel terrible about it now, but yeah.
Yeah.
That's insane. Okay. Wow.
The stories I can't tell right now would break your heart and make you hate me, and for good reason.
Oh, no.
So Jared comes in. We meet Jared for the first time. And I do love that she's like, Jared, you're not in my class. And he's like, I've heard great things.
I love his character so
Jared's
much.
The best.
He does such a good job.
Yeah. Well, and I love the moment he gets later where he's like, no one really knows me. They just had rumors about me. And it's a constant theme through the movie of you don't really know the people around you as well as you think you do because you did not take time to know them. And I think that's very, very important.
I think that's one of the big lessons of the movie is hey, those other high school students are also living their own lives and they're not mad at you or hate you or whatever. They don't really think about you like that.
Yeah.
I think that's great.
Yeah. They're just trying to get by also.
Yes. Yeah.
But this is also where we get the announcement of Shakespeare in the parking lot of Whole Foods, because it's the same thing his program did in Barcelona when he lived in Barcelona.
I thought that was very funny. But Paige, you do that sometimes too, and it makes me laugh every time.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's very funny to me.
We cut to lunch or some sort of break because they're in between classes. She's trying to get Nick, who is the vice president's attention. And as we have kind of established in this little montage, is that Nick is kind of the popular party boy, and that's how he got to be vice president.
Yeah.
He's a golden retriever.
Yeah. Not being smart or working hard.
Yeah.
But really he is. She just doesn't perceive him that way.
Yes.
I think that he is smart in his own way. I think Molly is probably, quote, smarter than he is, but he does work hard at the things he values. It's just that she doesn't value those things.
Right.
He's an athlete and that kind of stuff, and she's not.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Although she's into Gryffindors, as she alludes to later on.
Clearly.
Yeah.
No, he's into Hufflepuffs.
Well, he fucks with Hufflepuffs. She's into Gryffindor.
Which are the jock.
Oh, yeah.
I sort of hate talking about Harry Potter just because of all the J.K. Rowling bullshit out there.
Yeah,
And
same.
I fucking hate it.
But it is a line and a plot point in this movie.
It's a plot point in the movie. I just wish she would fucking shut up.
Stop. Yeah.
Jesus
know.
Christ. Anyway.
So this is also where we establish that Amy is an out lesbian and she has a crush on a girl named Ryan, but has never gotten up the courage to talk to her. And the interactions with Ryan are kind of my favorite because Ryan is just existing. doing her own thing.
Yeah.
But they have nothing in common.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's this very high school thing of just like pining after somebody and then actually going to talk to them and you have nothing to talk about.
Yep.
Because you have nothing in common and the conversation goes nowhere.
Yep.
Because neither of you has realized that you have nothing in common.
Yeah.
Well, and I love that they're having this little argument. And Amy's like, I don't even know if she likes girls. And Molly's like, she looks like a boy. Like, how could she not like girls? And she's like, no, that's her gender expression. That's different than her sexual orientation. And like, it gets into this sort of deep territory that feels silly, but later very much comes into play.
Very much real, yes.
Super valid. Yeah, 100%.
Yes.
I thought it was very funny because the way she says she dresses like a boy actually is she went to prom in a polo.
She went to prom in a polo?
Which I thought was it's such a funny line, but it also...
Good for her.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not saying
She's serving looks.
Exactly.
100%.
But I do think it's just a very funny way to open the door for that information that does become so valuable later.
Yes.
Because it turns out she's into the guy that Molly's into.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, she's a person that gives off very lesbian vibes. I'm aware. Hey, if you shoot your shot, I'm not offended. I get it. I own tools. I dress the way I do.
This probably won't surprise you, but I've had gay men proposition me because
Of course.
I'm a guy that loves musicals, and that's like not a common straight component. But like,
Ew.
I've never took an offense. I've always been like, I get it. I appreciate it.
happens.
Not interested. Yeah.
But the only way you find out about somebody's inner workings is by talking to them.
Yeah.
So like, have the conversation, shoot your shot.
Opposite, I am kind of gay.
Yes.
But never get hit on because
No.
I present very femme.
I should have found a way to bring you to Netflix with me because we would have had a good old time of me meeting comedians from all across the country. And at some point of the conversation being like, yeah, my husband couldn't come. And they're like, husband? Like,
What?
It was what? And
Ma'am?
I feel like it would have been really fun for you to be there and be like, hello, hi, I'm Andrea. I'm the one you're looking for.
Hello, I also have a boyfriend, but you know,
What's that?
not because I haven't tried women.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
There you go.
Did you guys recognize who played Ryan in the movie? Because she's not like a very well-known actress.
No.
She's like a pretty famous skateboarder.
Oh, really?
I
Yeah.
did not know that, but that makes sense because she is skateboarding through most of this film.
Yeah. And she's like, I've seen her skate. She's pretty great. Like,
Really?
she's really good. It's not just that, she's like a professional, like that level of skater. Yeah.
Oh,
That's
wow.
amazing.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's cool. I do love also that we reveal in this conversation that Amy's first crush was the white cat from the Aristocats.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's so funny too, because that's a very prissy femme, like specific type.
Yes.
That Ryan actually does not fit.
Doesn't fit at all.
But her later love interest actually does fit.
Yep.
Which makes a lot of sense.
Molly doesn't understand that, which I think is very funny.
Yeah.
Because like, I feel like people's first cartoon crush says a lot about them.
Aladdin.
Oh, nice. That makes a lot of sense for you. Yes.
So much sense.
Andrea, do you trust me?
Yeah. This makes a lot of sense.
A shirtless brown man with an animal companion?
Yes.
Mine was definitely The Little Mermaid, which that should check out too.
Oh,
Little
yeah.
Mermaid,
That's
yeah,
that checks out.
Yeah.
Who was yours, Paige?
Well, so I did like Prince Eric from Little Mermaid, of course, but also
Who didn't?
Beauty and the Beast was my favorite Disney movie for years, but I don't like the way the Beast turns out at the end. I am
Agreed.
actually...
Oh my God.
I'm
Like
more-
the beast.
Oh my God. Paige, stop just giving us all of this evidence that you are in fact a closeted furry. Like you
It's
just
not
said
furry.
that you would
Ow.
100% rather bone the Beast as the Beast.
I feel like a lot of people would, given how Michael Bolton he looks after. But like...
As someone who's met Michael Bolton, that's accurate. It is
Right?
like really Michael Bolton vibes.
Yeah, no, it's definitely more about like being into someone who is, because I am a 5'2" loud lady, so I'm in danger a lot. And so like finding someone larger and protective that still respects you for being smart.
It's hot. It's a vibe.
I think that's what it is.
So when you ask Paige, man or bear, she says both?
Yes.
Both.
Yes, please. Thank you
Bear,
so much.
because I can change him.
Bears can be trained. Bears are the right answer to that, by the
There's
way.
the right call every
Yeah, every time.
100%.
But it is from Ryan that we find out that the party is happening at Nick's aunt's house. And I do love that it's because Nick's aunt is stuck on a cruise ship shitting in buckets.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Oh, well, I mean, it's not that cool for her. She's shitting in buckets. I mean, obviously not that, I guess. I love how awkward they are. Like, I love what you're saying about this being, like, the high school crush. Because, like, I had high school crushes, and then I would talk to them and be like, oh, you're boring, actually.
Yeah. Turns out you're not it. You don't got it like that.
100%.
You don't got the riz.
You're not it for me. Like, that's fine. You're it for somebody else.
100%.
Yeah.
Sure.
Oh my God. There was a boy when I was in high school who was in my cousin's choir, and we were flirting, and I thought he was cute, and I gave him my number, and he called me during finals week, and I was like, I'm studying, and he called me and he did, hey, I'm bored, so I called you, and I was like, so annoyed. I was like, I'm studying for finals, so if you could call me back next week, that would be great. Because I was like, I'm not here to fucking entertain you, bro. Like, what is this? I'm bored. Like, I was so annoyed.
That's the right response.
Was he 12? How old was this person?
We were probably 16 or 17.
Good Lord.
And he called me the next day after I told him, like, hey, I'm studying for finals. He's like, I'm bored. And I was like, I'm not.
He called you and he was like, hey, I don't respect boundaries. I also bring nothing to the table.
Yeah.
Do you want to entertain me now?
And I said, don't call me again. And I hung up on it.
That's the right call.
I was real book smart.
Yeah.
I think I'm bored is code for I want to talk to you and I like you, but I don't know what to say.
Very well could be.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, but you got to figure out something to say, bro.
Write it down before you call. Like, if you need that.
Look, as a late diagnosed neurotypical,
Sure.
I have a hard time reading like social things.
Cues.
So
Yeah.
social cues. So I literally was like, why are you calling me? Because you're bored. That's not a very nice reason to call someone. This is very annoying. And then I just was like, I'm not dealing with this.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, hey, with my mix of societal fat phobia telling me that no one would ever call me for a reason other than being bored, like, I'm relating very much to Penelope Featherington this Bridgerton season where she's just like, what do you mean you like me as more than a friend? Are you crazy? Like, that was me until much too late into my adult life. So I would have gotten, like, bored and been like, okay, what do you want to talk about?
Nah, we got finals to study for, baby. Get the fuck out of here.
Anyway, this movie's not boring because we do find out that scissoring's not a thing.
And it's not really.
I've been told this by many of my lesbian friends that scissoring is not really a thing.
No.
It mostly exists in porn. But who should pull up in an amazing flame-painted Pontiac T-Bird with Gigi on the top of it is Jared. Because he showed up at lunch with soup dumps. I got some sweet soup dumps. And Gigi is like passed out on the hood of his car screaming at people.
Amazing.
It is probably the best character intro in any movie like this that I know of.
She's a chaos goddess.
Yeah.
She's a chaos goddess and I love it.
She's a fairy godmother, and he is very much her sidekick.
Yeah.
And even though sometimes in this movie, just her facial expressions or her voice, she reminds me of her mom and it makes me sad, but still love her so much.
Her mom? Who's her mom?
Carrie Fisher.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense, actually.
I didn't realize that either, yeah.
Yeah. Watch it again and you can't unsee it.
Fuck.
But yeah, they imply that Jared only keeps her around as a friend for when she needs a liver.
Yeah.
So she can have his.
That's really funny.
Oh, man. But they also, this is the first time we hear the rumor about Jared losing his virginity to a sex worker.
At 14.
At 14 that his dad purchased for him.
Yeah.
Which is a sad story.
It's such a sad story.
I mean, it's obviously not true, but that is like something that I didn't hear that at my high school. I heard similar things, though. Like, you know,
Sure, of
like
course.
that kind of shit does go around.
There's a comedian that I had a brief liaison with. We dated for like 2 or 3 weeks or something.
Is this true? Sorry.
Andrea, fuck a comedian? Crazy.
Oh, that's not what I... Okay, but yeah, that's probably crazy too. Sorry, yeah.
But his first sexual experience was with a sex worker, and you could tell when he fucked you.
Oh, no.
It was a huge... It was just like, oh, I'm a real person. You have to...
yeah, you
You have to care about fucking
we do
me.
this together.
Good Lord.
Yeah. And, like, you could tell, like,
Yeah.
it was very disconnected and, like, one-sided, and I was like, I don't like this, actually.
Yeah, this is like a couple's activity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As a demisexual especially, I was like, this is not for me. Thank you so much.
one of the things that I do like that they say about this rumor is they're like, it's too weird not to be true because like he sprained his ankle and she had a hearing aid. And you're like, what? Those are the kinds of details.
But those are two facts that make it sound more unbelievable. Like that can't have happened.
See, I'm with them though, where it's like sometimes when you have details that weird, that's how you know it has to be true because no one would make that up.
Yeah.
I think that you have the same amount of information on its truthiness.
Yes, you do.
Whether they told you those things or not. Like all of that is made up. Yeah.
Soup Dumps.
Soup Dumps. I love that kid. I think this may be his best performance, and that's insane because he plays Gideon Gemstone on the Gemstones.
I was going to say.
I love him as Gideon, though.
He's so good as Gideon.
But he's so good in this.
Yes.
He's good in everything I've seen him in. I'm like, nailing it.
Agree.
He's such a good actor.
Yeah, that dude's going to be around forever, and I'm happy about it.
Yes.
I hope so.
Oh, man. Especially this movie, I love him so much because he's so over the top crazy, but in the moment where he has to be quiet and vulnerable, he fucking slays it.
Nails it.
He nails it.
Yeah.
He's so good.
But he more or less is playing Kelvin Gemstone in this movie.
Yeah.
And that to me is funny because he is also on that show.
So Molly goes to the gender neutral bathroom, which turns out to be the place where everyone smokes. But while she's going to the bathroom, she overhears people talking about her as she's correcting the graffiti on the wall, which I think is hilarious.
They're playing Fuck, Marry, Kill with her and two inanimate objects is what they're doing.
Yeah.
Yes, and
they
she
still
loses.
kill her. Yeah.
She has a butter personality, is what they call her. One guy makes a very, choice roast joke if this was a battle where he's just like, no, she's absolutely cute. I would absolutely fuck her. I just have to put a bag over her personality instead of her face, which is well written, but very hurtful.
Which I also love because Molly is not a stereotypically skinny girl.
Yeah.
I love that there is no fat shaming of her.
No.
That everyone's beef is with her personality and the way that she treats other people.
I'd argue that someone is pursuing her this entire movie.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Gideon Gemstone is into it.
Yeah.
Really likes her. Tells her why he likes her.
Controversial opinion. I also think Nick is into it. And if they had not been interrupted, she probably would have at least made out with him that night. I don't think it would have lasted, but
I think the signs are there for that, for sure.
Yes. I think he was down to make out with her.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I think that Nick is very much like a goldfish where he's just kind of like, whatever pussy's in front of me.
Right.
This is what we're doing. You know what I mean? I don't think he thinks about it as a serious thing. I think he's just as kind of like, oh, this is fun.
Yes.
Oh, this is fun. Oh, I like her.
Yeah.
Everyone seems to like me and this is nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think he particularly likes Ryan any more than her. She's just there. Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, which is a thing that drunk dudes do, but also popular dudes that have never had the feeling of not being wanted back will do it.
How I got my 6'7" boyfriend was by being mean to him for 6 months. If you've ever dated a former college athlete who has green eyes but is a light-skinned black man, so fucking handsome, be mean to him for a little bit. Say no for a little bit. He's never had that in his life and we are together. You know what I'm saying?
Normally I wouldn't advocate for this, but I also really like you two together. So I think I'm going to have to co-sign this advice.
No, but there is something about saying hey, I want to make sure that this isn't just a casual relationship for you because I'm serious and I date seriously, and making that known to someone who has essentially had easy pussy for his entire life is that's kind of sometimes how you can set a boundary and make something lasting. My boyfriend's very hot.
He is a very good looking man.
He's a very handsome man.
He's also cool as shit.
He is cool as shit.
He's very cool. Very kind.
I met him when you guys came to Nashville. I like him a lot.
Big fan.
I feel bad whenever he has to come over to my house for Thanksgiving because our ceilings were built in the 50s and they're really not tall enough.
He's so tall. I know. It's funny. The world is truly too small for him.
This is true. Anyway, so Molly's got a butter personality. And she comes out of that stall ready to dress people down with her oh, yeah, well, I'm going to fucking Yale. Only to find out that AAA, who is one of the people who has been messing with her.
I love this scene.
Is yeah, I'm also going to Yale.
Yeah.
Because I scored a 1560. And then we also find out that one of the other guys is playing soccer at Stanford on a full ride. And that the other guy, Theo, has been recruited to code for Google. And he's like, I mean, it's mid 6 figures, but I figure I'll get bonuses from there. And you're just like,
holy shit.
What? Like all of these people.
Yeah.
In fact, my favorite is when she runs out of the bathroom and starts asking everyone. She's like, where are you going, Nick? And he's like, Georgetown, damn. And then she gets to Gigi and she's like, don't be mad at me. It was my 5th choice, Harvard. It's just like, it's impossible. The percentage of people going to Ivy League schools at this high school
it's not
is impossible.
Except they're from Los Angeles. That's the only thing that makes it possible to me.
That's true. That is the only thing that makes it possible.
There is a lot of money here.
Because it's probably a massive high school.
Yeah.
In my mind, I was like, oh, this is a rich as shit school. That's what I thought. Yeah.
It may be. It could be a magnet.
I think it's a rich school.
Yeah.
I think it's a big school. Because it's not a private school. It's a public school. But we do have, in LA, we do.
Like a Hollywood High kind of thing.
So like Pasadena is the good school system here. In Pasadena, like I would bet there would be, because those are like $1 million homes. So if your parents can afford a home there, you're well off enough that they could afford to send you to an Ivy League school.
Yeah.
Or you might be a legacy there or something like that.
Yeah.
I think that most of the places they are, including Daniel Russo's childhood home from earlier in the movie, they are mostly in my neighborhood.
Oh.
Which I think is very funny because Lido Pizza is like just a few blocks away.
Oh my God, I didn't know that.
Really close to Lido Pizza. It cracks me up every time I see it in this movie. But they drive all over the city, and they do, for Nick's aunt's house, go towards the west side, which I think, given the size of the house, is like Bel Air.
Pacific Palisades.
If you just drive west from my house right now, that's where you'd end up.
Yeah, if you take the 134 to the 405.
To the 101. To the,
Yeah.
So, yes, I do. That's the one way that I was like, this might be possible. Because the more people you hear that are going to Ivy League schools, I'm like, what is this school's percentage? Is this like the top school in the country?
What the fuck?
Because I feel like most of the time you got like one kid who's like, I'm going to Yale.
I did have not exactly the same, but kind of a similar moment to this when I was in high school, when I was a freshman. First semester of freshman year, you know, you get your grades for the quarter or the semester or whatever. And I was ranked 2nd in the whole high school. Mm-hmm. But because it's your first year, multiple people have the same rank because you've only had 6 classes or something.
Right.
And if you're all in honors, you know, if all your friends are in honors and you're all in the same class.
And you all got the same grade.
It doesn't really matter. And so my parents were like so proud of me and like got me flowers. I'm like, whatever, who cares? But there was a friend who I was joking around with, and his name's Eric. And I was like, we were like goofing around. I was like, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, no, that's, you know, he goes, I'm smarter than you. And I was like, okay, bro. Like, what the fuck? Like, why would you say that? That's such a dumb qualifying thing to say to someone. He goes, well, I know I'm smarter than you because I'm ranked 2nd and Andy Kemp is ranked 1st. And I was like, you're obviously not smart enough to know that multiple people can be ranked 2nd because I'm also ranked 2nd. So like, you're just being a dick. And he just, he was so upset that that he got owned in that moment because he like felt so superior in some type of way about it. And when we finally graduated 4 years later, I was ranked 5th and he was ranked 6th. So it made my day. It was fantastic.
That's the kind of petty I love.
Just enough. That's all I cared about. I just want to be ranked a little higher than Eric. Let's go, baby.
Eat it, dick, Eric.
Suck it.
We're still friends to this day. He has 2 beautiful children.
Oh, good for you, Eric.
Paige, you know what? Warmer and sunnier days are coming, and we can fuel them up with Factor's no prep, no mess meals. Meet your wellness goals in time for summer thanks to the menu of chef-crafted meals with options like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, and Keto. Factor's fresh, never frozen meals are dietitian approved and ready to eat in just 2 minutes, so no matter how busy you are, you'll always have time to enjoy nutritious, great tasting meals. And with 35 different meals and more than 60 add-ons to choose from every week, you'll always have new flavors to explore. So if you want to spend more of your sunnier, warmer days focusing on just enjoying the summer and less on what we're going to have for dinner, make your day delicious from breakfast to dessert and stay fueled up with easy, nutritious options from Factor. So head to factormeals.com/romancingthepod50 and use code romancingthepod50, sort of all one word, to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month. So it's like 70% off total, split up over 2 months. That's code romancingthepod50 at factormeals.com/romancingthepod50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month while your subscription is active.
At the Coca-Cola Company, Keurig Dr. Pepper, and PepsiCo, our bottles might still look the same, but some of them can be remade in a whole new way, using 100% recycled plastic. New bottles made using no new plastic except the caps and labels. You'll be seeing more of these new bottles in more places, and that's thanks to you, because when we get more bottles back, we can use less new plastic. Learn how our bottles are made to be remade at madetoberemade.org.
We cut to, they are essentially doing like a senior prank where they've stolen all the condoms, like the free condoms around the school, and filled them up as water balloons. I don't know if you've ever done this. It is the grossest water balloon fight you will ever have. Because so most condoms
oily.
are lubed. So you get hit with one. First of all, they're really hard to break. Sometimes you'll throw them multiple times and they won't break.
They're made to like put up with a lot of stress,
They're
guys.
made to last.
Yeah.
Yes.
Put up with a pounding, if you will.
Oh, thank you.
And then you will eventually get hit with one. And it's it's just slime because it's mixed with the lube. It's so gross. We did this in college one time and immediately regretted it.
They kind of hurt too because they are so hard and they don't really
they're
break.
So hard and they don't break. It's like being hit by a softball. It's really terrible.
How'd you get that black eye, Paige? A condom. Oh. Don't worry about it.
They get really big if you try to do them round, and then they're like too heavy to throw. So you have to sort of not fill them enough, but then they don't pop, and they're like hot dog shaped, and they kind of like weeble wobble through the air. Don't use condoms as water balloons. Bad idea. Just saying.
But also, if it can take a water balloon, your dick will fit. Calm down.
I never had any doubts.
So we cut to them on this cliff overlooking the town where they're going to like open their memory box and have cake. Like they clearly have plans for the day. And Molly is just staring into the middle distance because she can't believe that she worked super hard and other people got the same things that she did, because it's not just about hard work. Mm-hmm. And this is also where we find out that they have college IDs to get into the library.
Well, that's because she goes, we've never even broken any rules. And Amy's like, what are you talking about? We got college IDs. Yeah, so we could go to the 24-hour library. Like, it's just the nerdiest rule breaking. It's so cute.
I also do love, they're like, well, like, name me one successful person that's broken rules. And it's like, every successful person is like literally all of them.
Yeah.
Most of them are criminals, actually.
A lot of, yes. But they decide they're going to go to the party. We go to Amy's house where they have a hilariously fun dress-up montage where they end up wearing the same thing.
It's like a blue jean jumpsuit, maybe?
I love it.
It's very cute, but it is not exactly party cute.
It's not at all what they need for their endeavors that evening.
Right.
Yes.
I do love when Miss Fine like calls him out on like more or less dressing the same, and Amy's like, but we thought with this pop of color, and she's like, no.
Yeah, she's like, but we added the scarf. It's like, no.
Not enough.
Y'all know that you dress the same? Yeah.
So funny.
But this is also where we find out about the panda bear, and we get the story of Molly trying to use an electric toothbrush and giving herself a terrible UTI.
Dude, the panda shit was so funny. Especially at the end of the movie. Like,
oh my God. Will Forte.
Will Forte is the best.
I love it. This is just a star-studded cast.
It is.
Top to bottom.
It is.
Crushed it.
I don't know if you guys have seen Amy in anything else, but the first thing I ever saw her in was a TV show called Unbelievable.
Yes.
And it's so sad, and it's a very different vibe, but she is amazing in that.
Okay.
She's done a lot of TV, but is very, very good. Yeah.
Man, she's a great actress.
Anyway, they go downstairs where they run into her parents, Will Forte and Lisa Kudrow.
Perfect.
Who have done like a whole buffet of graduation named things for them.
Mushroom cap and gown.
Mushroom cap and gown. What was the like, I'll live you so much. I'm so honored that you're my daughter. Like,
yeah. My sweet baby girl. Yeah.
Sweet baby girl. But they excuse themselves by pretending that they're going to have a one last night of teenage sex. with each other, which I do think is funny that her parents are like, they're clearly together. Like,
and supportive of it. Like, you know,
trying so hard to be supportive.
Yes.
My favorite part is that Molly is trying to keep this gag going. Like, yes, we're a couple. And Amy is like, no, we're not. We're just friends. And she's like, we'll probably just do a Korean face mask. And Lisa Kudrow's like, I don't need to know the terms.
I don't need to know the names for it.
It's okay.
So funny.
It's fine. And they take off running outside the house down the street, which I think they didn't borrow the car because they didn't want to give away that they were going to a party and also didn't want to drunk drive.
Smart.
Yeah.
And because they're Booksmart. But that means they take off running down the street and they don't have the address for the party. They have no idea where they're going.
Yeah.
And so they're just watching videos of them eating ghost peppers. They call Jared because they're like, assumingly, like Jared will know.
Yeah.
And Jared rolls up to pick them up. 2 death grips. I've seen footage. Perfect needle drop. They get in and he's like, welcome to the SS lit as fuck. And he's clearly like trying to impress Molly specifically.
He's working
so hard.
So hard, guys.
So hard.
So hard.
It's so funny. But it's that like T-top Trans Am thing. Like, I love it. It's so funny.
Oh, yes. It's amazing. And then like he's playing like speeches from powerful women. His license plate says fuck boy.
Yes.
Oh, and they do find in the backseat a tin of what they believe is drugs. We will find out that it is just vitamins because Gigi likes to snort her vitamins, but she will drug them a minute later.
100%. Yeah.
So I actually read that as like, that's just what she tells that guy is the cocaine.
Originally, that's how I had read it too, except they get covered in it and it doesn't
And it doesn't have any effect. Yeah, I saw that.
Yes.
I noticed that too. So yeah, it probably is just B12 or whatever she said.
Whatever, B12, A, and D.
And she's also so weird. It's like, sure.
Oh, yeah.
That makes sense for what she would do.
Yeah.
But I love that he pulls up to his boat party and they're like, no, this isn't the party we wanted to go to. I specifically told you. He's like, no, you don't want to go to that party. You want to go to this party. Like, come on, like at least come in for a little bit. And they're like, okay, like fine. I do love that he's like, let's get bashed. I mean, like consensually bashed, like only if you want to be bashed. Like, yeah. They go in. There's no one at this party. It's very sad.
So sad.
All the gift bags have iPads loaded with all of the photos of them for like the whole year.
They have an ice sculpture. They have waiters. Like, it is sad because he spent so much money on a party and no one came. And like,
it's so funny.
So sad.
In this moment, she's like, you can't buy people's affection. She's like, no, my parents do it all the time. And also, here's a hat with your name on it.
Yeah.
But Amy gets dragged upstairs to dance with Gigi because Gigi's like, I knew you guys partied. Let's go. She drags her upstairs.
After shoving a strawberry in their mouth.
Oh, yes, that's right. She shoves strawberries in their mouth. That will be important later. She takes Amy upstairs and Amy's like, yeah, I don't really want to do any drugs because like, when I went to Model UN in Amsterdam, I smoked weed and I just cried about my mom dying.
Relatable.
That's
what mushrooms are for me. I get very introspective and I think about death a lot.
But so she relays this to Gigi, and my favorite is Gigi is like, I totally get that. The same thing happened to me. I went to a party and what I thought was like this party thing, but it turned out to be graveyard, and then we had sex, and then all the souls of the graves were in my eggs, and so when I give birth to them, they'll finally be free. And she's like, it's not like that at all. Like, what did you just say?
Like, calm down, Mary Shelley. What is happening?
Okay, but I just love this. I love Gigi's trope as just like, you just never know what she's going to say.
You never know. But I also love, because what Jared says about her later, he's like, she's the most loyal person I've ever met. And at every single party, Gigi is there like, oh my God, you guys are here. I'm so glad to see you. Here's what, like, she does not matter. She is team them the whole movie.
Yeah.
Even though she's a weird Loki-esque chaos god through the film. It's crazy. But no sooner have we heard about the graveyard eggs than Molly comes running up and is like, we need to leave right now. We got to go. And Gigi's like, perfect. Trigger the fireworks. And then she just jumps off the side of that boat. And not only that, I know there was like a pad or something to catch her or whoever did the jump, but she jumps and her feet arc over her head.
There's no way that person didn't topple head over heels, you know?
Yeah, either head over heels or have the most painful belly flop one could, because she's just arms open wide.
Yeah.
So, like, commitment to the bit.
I loved it, though. It's so funny because she, like, yells into a walkie-talkie, like, start it now, and then just runs past them and jumps off as the fireworks go off.
Amazing.
So awesome.
Well, and then I love that, like, as we're hearing sirens from, like, the Coast Guard and stuff. And Molly and Amy are just like, bail, 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 bail.
Yeah.
They just, like, take off the boat. Because it turns out Alan has responded to their text. And they're like, perfect, now we have an address. But at this point, Amy's like, I'm kind of done. We had a weird experience. This has been odd.
Yeah, we could say we went out and partied. We've checked this off the list. Let's go home.
I'm such a fucking Amy.
But Molly pulls the Malala card, which I love that that's their card for, like, we do it together, is just invoking the name of Malala Yousafzai.
So funny.
They're just like, Malala. So they rally. They're going to go to the party. They call an Uber. Who should show up to pick them up? But their principal, Jason Sudeikis.
So funny. I love
Mr.
this.
Brown? Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
I love that the back of his car is decorated with chili pepper lights.
Like lights,
and Yeah, like tea lights. And then there's like a heart. It's like a vibe. There's a whole vibe.
I hope that's getting him the extra Uber stars because that's fun as hell. I would have loved that.
So fun.
He's definitely got a high rating. I do love that he is very much like, at this point, he's like, no, you can call me Spencer if you want. And then Molly's like,
Jordan, I think is his name.
Is it? Yeah, I don't know. Whatever his name was.
I'm not going to do that.
But yeah, like, I'm not going to do that ever.
Well, I also love that Molly's like, you have to order the Uber because I have a really low rating. I think I'm kind of tough on people.
Too abrasive with the drivers.
Yeah, that's what she said. Yeah.
But they get into the car and Molly again is reinforcing, like, you're going to meet up with Ryan and y'all are going to scissor and everything. And she's like, I'm not going to do that. And I don't know what to do. So, like, nothing's going to happen. And Molly's like, well, hey, let's think of this as a documentary. Let's look at some porn and see what to do. And initially she has headphones in.
Yeah.
But then they go to plug the phone in to charge it.
Yeah, because the battery is dying. Yeah.
And Jason Sudeikis is like, oh, if you guys want to listen to your music, that's fine. And switches the aux import so that their phone audio is playing in the car. And it's the most aggressive, obvious porn noise you could have.
It's so good.
And it goes on for a long time. Like, she doesn't rip the cord out immediately like she should have. She's like trying to like stop it on the phone.
Yeah. And they're just screaming about trying to stop it.
And the sound is just like the squishy, like,
it's just the macaroni and cheese over and over and over and over again.
Like a boot stuck in mac and cheese.
Yeah.
The Foley guy must have had a trip with that.
Oh yeah, I'm just like fingering melons, just like whatever he could make that sloppy sound with, just slapping wet socks against the floor. It's just like
it's too fast for that. It was real fast.
It was real. It's honestly an impossible porn noise, but that's what makes it funnier.
Yeah.
100%.
And that's why he's like, oh, is that Cardi B or?
Is that Cardi B?
That shit made me laugh so hard. I was like, that's what I would say.
Bounce. So they show up at Alan's house, where it turns out they are not at the party they wanted to be at. They are unfortunately at a murder mystery dinner, and they are assigned the farmer and the Baron orthodontist.
It just says orthodontist. Sorry. That's like a line of dialogue.
Well, he's like, your character traits are in the packet.
Yeah.
And they're like, no. But they're like, I think the mayor came from that other party. If you find the mayor and ask them questions, you can probably figure this out.
Yeah.
They go walking through the house where they encounter Gigi inspecting the dead body. And they're like, Gigi, how are you dry? And she just turns and says, how are you dry?
It's like the perfect response from Gigi every time.
Every time. But Gigi is like, perfect. I'm so glad you guys are here. Come into my office. And she's like, I'm up for re-election. I need to know if I need to buy your vote. And they're like, oh my God, you're the mayor. And she's like, yeah, absolutely. And how are you guys so composed? I drugged you with strawberries like an hour ago. And they were like, what? And allegedly she calls it Asian ayahuasca. Or Asian waska, which would last so much longer. So the fact that they still make it through the rest of the night is wild. You could definitely read this as the rest of the night did not happen, but we do see it. So they run upstairs and have a hallucination in which they are Barbies. And I do think that it's incredibly funny that Beanie Feldstein's character is like, this is terrible. This is bad for women. This sets an impossible standard and my knees don't bend. Meanwhile, Amy is just like, oh yeah, I'm smooth like a dolphin.
This sequence was so funny to me.
It's so funny. And it's like, it's a lot of visual humor, but I think it also speaks so much to beauty standards and the way we view our own bodies.
Absolutely,
and all this
it
stuff
does.
that as women we deal with. And I do love that Amy's character is just like, no, I'm just like, this is great. Like, this is fantastic.
Oh yeah, I'm into this. At one point she's hovering and has both legs
up somehow. Yeah. So funny.
It's so good. But they decide that they have to get out of here. So they like doll walk down the stairs. As that's happening, a dinner party is happening where the mystery is being solved. And I do love that Gregory is like, how about a little game of J'accuse? And like, as they're just doll walking out the door because they're not bending their knees. Like, they clearly still think they're dolls.
They think they're still dolls.
I think one of the funniest moments in the whole movie for me is when they're like falling and trying to get up on top of that dresser to look in the mirror. We get a few reaction shots of them downstairs at the table responding to hearing that noise.
Yes.
And in one of them, George just picks up that bell and rings it for like 15 seconds.
As if it's like to quiet the ghosts. I do love it.
So funny.
funny.
That character made me laugh so much. I loved it.
So good.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So they've made it out of the house, but Gigi calls to them from like the balcony of the house. They're like, we got to go. And she's like, oh yeah, because you're in love with Nick. And she's like, no, I'm not. And she's like, you are. You definitely are. I can see it. Everyone can see it. They run to a parking lot where they sit down and they have this very vulnerable conversation that I love where Molly is like, I know I shouldn't like Nick because he represents everything that I say that I don't like. And yet somehow it is working for me. And I feel like we've all got one of those.
100%.
But this causes Amy to be like, you know what? We're going to that. We're going to find that party because like you've never talked about this, but you clearly want a shot at this. Let's fucking go. Like the tables have turned. Now Amy is driving.
Yeah.
And she's like, we're going to get there the way that we know how. Homework. So they go to the 24-hour library.
I love that they did this, and I love that they're like pulling fucking property records and all that shit. Like they're on the hunt.
So funny.
But then Amy notices something very important. They are the videos that they're getting from the party, which I do love that like we're periodically getting like TikToks and stuff or reels from the party. And it's Theo diving through a pile, like a huge stack of pizza boxes.
Well, he's punching it. He's punching it. Which is so stupid.
From Lido Pizza.
Straight up, I kind of love Theo. Like, I kind of vibe with Theo.
Theo's hilarious. Lido Pizza is not a chain. It's one place, which means they would have ordered an exorbitant amount of pizza. All the deliveries would have gone there. They clearly would have the address. They just need to find a way to get the people at Lido Pizza to give them the address.
Yeah.
What they choose to do is madness because they essentially try to carjack a delivery driver.
You mean a
just
murderer?
using their own hair. Well,
Yes.
we don't know he's a murderer yet.
Yeah.
But I do love that he's like, is this some Manson family shit? Do you have a weapon? Because he's got a gun.
Yeah.
And I do love that he's like, look, you guys don't even know who I am. 45 minutes, I could have you across the state lines.
At a cabin, have you hogtied and handcuffed and have you drinking milk from a little saucer on the floor.
Yeah, and videotape it.
And I was like, that's too much detail.
It's too specific.
Yeah.
So specific. That is what is so funny about the reveal later is you're like, that's very specific.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, can you give us a ride? And he's like, no.
Yeah, no.
Get out of my car.
There is something funny about the fact that we later find out that he is a murderer.
Yeah,
Yes.
he is a murderer who was working a plan to not kill today, and these women just won't get out of his car.
I took it as because it wasn't a challenge, he didn't want them.
Yeah.
Or whatever part of his MO, he didn't want them.
The weirdly ethical serial killer.
It's so funny. And like when they get him back, I'm like, good.
Yeah. Well, so he leaves them, but now they have the address, but her phone is dying and she only has time for one call. who does she call? Miss
Fine?
Fine, who shows up and is like, I'm actually glad you guys are having fun because, like, have fun now. Don't let it bleed into your 20s, where we find out that she got banned from every Jamba Juice and can never have a Mango a Go-Go ever again.
That whole scene was so funny. Just like their deference to Miss Fine, like how much they like really respect her is so funny to me.
They love her.
Yeah, they're like into it. They just want to be her friend so bad. And then her revealing that like...
I think they want to be like her too,
I think so,
where
too.
they're like, she's
Yeah.
a cool adult, not realizing the reality of what her adult life is like.
Right. Yeah, because she's like, you saved me from watching Gilmore Girls for the 30th time or whatever, you know?
I think it is that thing where someone, like, you'll, as a child, you think someone is really cool, and then you realize, like, oh, they're kind of a loser, and that's why they're hanging out with me.
Yeah.
And there's something kind of sad about that, and I think Miss Fine is actually in that category, but...
She needs a new job and adult friends. For
Adult
sure.
friends, yeah.
Yeah, but she gives them new outfits from her car because ever the prepared Los Angeles car full of clothes.
Yeah.
And drops them off at the party where we get as they walk into the party an interpretive dance cutaway
So good.
that I love.
Paige, there's no way they didn't work on that for at least a whole day. Like it is such a long interpretive dance scene and they do it so well. It's so funny. I loved it.
I have never disliked an interpretive dance scene inserted into a comedy.
So funny.
It is funny to me every time.
How could you? It's so funny.
How could you?
It's wonderful.
And I think when you factor in the fact that they've been on some type of ayahuasca journey,
Yes,
it also makes a lot of sense.
It makes a ton of sense.
Yeah.
But they go their separate ways at the party so that Amy can talk to Ryan, Molly can talk to Nick, and who should show up there again but Gigi, who has somehow beat them there and is looking for rubbing alcohol because, quote, nothing they have is strong enough.
So funny.
Amazing. But so Amy finally goes to talk to Ryan, and they seem to be kind of hitting it off, although their conversation's kind of about nothing. But she's like, oh, I came out in the 10th grade. And Ryan's like, oh, no, I meant like come out to party. And she's like, oh, yeah. She's like, aren't you going to like Uganda? And she's like, oh, I couldn't because they don't really have good policies around gay people. And then she tries to like, would you be scared to go to Uganda?
I really like
She's
that
trying to
she was
figure out
like
if
trying
Ryan's
to
gay or
figure it
not.
out. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
still trying to figure it out. But Ryan ignores the question. He's like, come on, let's go in the pool.
Well, she ignores the question because everyone's like running by to go to the pool, right?
Not yet. Sorry. I got ahead of myself. She's like, oh my God, everyone is doing karaoke. Let's go do karaoke.
That's what it is. Yeah.
Yes. And of course, Gigi drags them in as well. But this is where Gregory sings Alanis Morissette's You Ought to Know to his cast.
And then he yells that guy's name at the end of it. It's so funny.
Ellen!
Or at the end of his section, because it actually gets passed off to Ryan, and then Ryan sort of gives it to Amy, who actually can really
Crushes
sing.
it.
Yeah.
But this is also where Miss Fine shows up at the party after changing her outfit from her car as well.
Yep.
And runs into Theo. But this is where she says, you're 20, right? Which we only know because he skipped 7th grade. Or he
Twice.
did 7th grade twice.
Yeah.
Which would make him, and he's like, yeah. And she's like, okay. We cut over to Molly and Nick. And Nick is like, oh my God, you came. You've never come to a party. This is so crazy. And they have this like back and forth of them playing beer pong and hanging out together that really does seem like, hey, maybe there is chemistry there and something's going to happen.
There's a vibe, 100%.
There's a vibe. And he gets kind of dragged away because something weird is happening at the party and it's his aunt's house. So he gets separated from her. I think if he hadn't left, they would have ended up making out that night. I don't think she's wrong to read that situation that way.
Me either.
But I don't necessarily think he likes her
long term at all.
For the fullness of who she is. I think it's more just like, oh, you're attractive and I'm kind of hot and we can make out. You know what I mean? I think it's very casual. I think that Molly's just not a casual person.
She's not. This is the one place that any sort of fat phobia is addressed in the movie, where she says, oh yeah, I bet you're into some skinny blonde whatever. And he's like, no, I don't discriminate. I fucks with a Hufflepuff, which is basically him saying like, I think you're attractive. Like, this is not, you're not excluded from my pool of dating, which I think is a great way for the movie to do that.
Yeah.
But so he goes off and ends up running towards the pool, which is where Amy and Ryan have also run. And I think they really draw it out with Amy swimming through the pool, because I think she thinks she's about to kind of hook up with Ryan in this pool because everyone's kind of making out. And under the water, she sees Ryan's legs entangled with someone else. She comes out of the water and it's Nick.
Yep.
So it's Nick and Ryan.
Yeah.
She gets out and immediately puts her clothes on and tries to find Molly and is like, we should go home. And she doesn't want to tell Molly what she just saw because I think she doesn't want to hurt Molly's feelings.
Yep.
I think she is trying to protect her own emotions too. Like she is devastated in this moment.
Course.
And I think she wants to get out of the party before telling Molly because she doesn't want to cry in front of the party. So like
Exactly.
Yeah, well, and I mean, God, walking in on your crush making out with somebody else or whatever, like brutal.
The saddest.
Brutal. It hurts so bad.
And I love the way that is like that buildup is done because it's like shot through her swimming under the pool and it's like building all this anticipation for this like little sexy moment that she's going to have with Ryan. And then boom, it's immediately ripped from
Bubble burst.
Yeah. It's so sad.
Well, it is kind of reads as that like being underwater is this almost like dreamlike fantasy like state.
Exactly. Well, and that's why you see all the kids underneath her and it's like guys and girls and it's like everybody, you know, it's
everyone's naked, just swimming, having a good time. You see titties.
You do see titties. You see almost a little bit of frontal because somebody's swimsuit is kind of weird as they swim by, but Molly doesn't want to go home because Molly doesn't know about Nick, and Molly is like, this is my chance.
Yeah.
Like, if I stay, he's gonna come back. He said he's gonna come back. And they have a brutal fight that we hear the beginning of just like, you're selfish, you know, like you capitulate to me, I don't get to do it. Like, it is everything they have wanted to say for years. And I do love that at a certain point the fight goes silent and we just are hearing the like score of the movie and watching as the whole party watches them.
And some records them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and some record them. It doesn't really matter what they're saying. This is their whole friendship they have to hash out at this moment because they've never had this fight before.
Yeah.
And they're drunk and just took ayahuasca or whatever.
Drunk and high and everything.
Well, and Amy does reveal that she is like deferring.
Going to Africa for a year.
Yeah, so she's going to Africa for a year. And then Molly is like, that's going to ruin our whole life plan. And Amy's like, no, that was your life plan. I'm going to live my life plan. And that's like sort of the genesis of the fight.
This is them drawing that boundary.
Yeah. And I think that this is the part that I was so sad to see it. But without this, they don't stay long-term friends, I don't think.
Of course.
I agree.
Yeah, they needed this fight.
Yeah.
So they go their separate ways after the fight. Amy goes to the bathroom where she assumes that she is probably going to sob uncontrollably about what has just happened. But unfortunately, Hope is already in the bathroom.
Yeah.
And they have this conversation where I think Amy's just like, fuck it, nothing matters anymore. Like, I'm so upset. Tonight has gone so sideways. Who the fuck cares? I will wreck anything.
Yeah.
And Hope is like, you're the person I usually bully is here. And I do think Hope has maybe been attracted to her for a while. And like that was, you know, enforcing their interactions previously. But Amy, in a moment of fuck it all, kisses Hope and they end up making out in the bathroom.
I sort of
Good for them.
Sort of loved this for them. I mean,
Me too.
Yeah.
The way it ends is not great. And I feel bad for Amy for it. But like, I was so happy that like she still had that moment after it was literally just ripped away from her.
Yes.
But also, this is like, I love the realism of this moment.
Oh, like how you might chase someone who's not at all interested in you and then fall into a situation where someone is into you. Yeah, I loved that too. I thought it was great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes being free from that crush with the person that isn't into you gives you a, like you've been so careful to try and manage yourself around this person that you're not even thinking. Now that they're out of the picture, you're just like, fuck everything.
Well, also, she is more authentic in her reactions with Hope because she is not concerned about winning her
She's not pretending to be someone she's not. Yeah, 100%. She's not trying to get her approval.
But I do also love the awkwardness of like the first hookup and just like
yes,
the wrong hole.
Yeah, we'll get to the wrong hole in like 2 seconds. But we cut over to Molly and Jared has made his way to this party and he's talking to her. And this is where we get that very, very sweet conversation where he's like, did people really think that I lost my virginity to a sex worker? Like I didn't. Nobody knows me. No one bothered to ask me about that. I just am really into musicals and airplanes and like this is who I am and no one bothered to get to know me. And Molly has this moment of like, fuck, I never bothered to get to know you and you're way more interesting than I thought. And like, they have kind of a bonding moment about this, and we don't come back to it for a little while, but I do think it's very, very sweet that he kind of explains his relationship with Gigi, and he's a real sweet guy who cares about her a lot.
Well, I love that that he has to leave because he's like, I have to make sure that dead man's float isn't actually a dead man's float.
Actual dead man's float.
I honestly, like, throughout the whole movie was like, this would be me if I grew up really wealthy. Like, he like is super into airplanes and musicals, and I was like,
yeah.
But man, I love that in this moment he was like, no, I like you because and he like sort of it goes into like why he likes Molly a lot.
Yeah.
You know, you work really hard for what you want, and I find that attractive. And I thought that was cool.
I appreciate that.
I like that a lot. Yeah.
We cut back to the bathroom where the makeout is still in progress and they are hooking up, but they are kind of bumbling through it. And this is where Amy accidentally fingers her butthole. Now, those holes feel very, very different. I feel like this is a difficult mistake to make.
So different.
But I think she's so nervous and drunk and high in the moment, she doesn't think about it, maybe.
Oh, I think she thinks about it a lot when it's brought to her attention.
Yeah, then she's like, oh my God. And she tries to drink a glass that is next to her that I think is full of like cigarette butts. And I have accidentally done this before, and it's the grossest thing on earth.
Well, it looks like there's something in the cup, like she drinks and then there's something in it, and because she set her drink next to that cup, and it looks like she picked up the wrong cup.
Man, when she throws up on Hope's face, I was like, it's so gross. It's so gross. I have my headphones off so I can't hear you guys talk about it.
And Hope just immediately gets in the shower and is like, go away. Like, there's no way we can have a conversation about I'm too grossed out. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
So she leaves. But as she's leaving, the cops show up. And so Molly takes off. Molly gets away.
Because Molly's outside in the backyard. So they just...
Yeah, she runs. And it's implied that Jared probably took her home. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It's not, because she walks.
No, it's not. She walks.
Then we end up with the scene with AAA later.
That's right.
But something happens with her and Jared off screen that we will get to later in the movie.
Yeah.
We just never see when it happens. But meanwhile, Amy is kind of trapped with a bunch of people who are trapped inside. And so she offers to create a diversion so everyone else can leave because she's not a coward. This is her arc of being meek and not standing up for stuff. And this is her, no, you guys go. I will get arrested. Let's go.
I'm not a coward.
And this circles back to their conversation that very first minute where they're like, someone always gets arrested at a dumb party the night before graduation.
Yep.
So good.
But you're right. Molly walks home, and who should pull up beside her but AAA? And she's like, no, like, are you here to make fun of me or whatever? And AAA's like, no, just get in. Like, I'll give you a ride. She gets in, and AAA has this mini monologue of like, I just gave people rides. And she's like, okay, I also sometimes blew them. But like, what am I going to do? Blow people at my house where my dad could walk in? Like, I want to have a fun time too. So like the car makes sense. Like, why is anyone being weird about this?
Yep.
And I do love that Molly in that moment is like, oh, that actually does make sense. Like, this is a rational thought process. And I do love that AAA just says, I knew that the guys were going to come up with a name for me and call me things like Mike and Theo and Dick Splinter.
Which you're like, who the fuck is Dick Splinter?
Who the fuck is Dick Splinter?
And is it because his dick gives splinter? Like, that doesn't sound... Or is it because you'll need a splint afterwards?
Splinter,
I don't know.
hardly know her. Okay.
Well, and I'm like, is it giant so it just cleaves people in twain? Like, what is it?
That's the other thought I had too, yeah.
Does it train Ninja Turtles?
Is it a log sheath? Like, what are we... Isn't that what you said earlier?
Oh, yeah, a log... a sheath. Yeah.
But she's really sad that the girls adopted the nickname too.
Yeah, she was like, I knew they would talk shit, the guys. I didn't think the girls would too. And that's what was most hurtful to her. Yeah, which I sort of get.
I totally 100%. Get that.
I've definitely fooled around in cars at that time in my life because you can't at your house because it's not yours.
I didn't because I was a nerd.
Hey, what's up? High fives. Nerds unite. It's earlier in the movie, she's like, I'm not going to talk to you next year at Yale. But in this scene, she's like, can you please not call me AAA? at Yale.
Yeah.
And it's very vulnerable and sweet and sad, but I love it.
I loved it. Yeah, I think it is like such like a great example of communicating and like with people who aren't your partner necessarily, like, you know, and I loved it. And I think that at the end of this night, Molly has learned a lot about herself.
Yes.
And has changed her opinion on who she wants to be in the world.
Yeah.
Not like dramatically about the things she wants to do and achieve, but the way she wants to interact with her peers and like society. And I love that journey for her.
I think she changes her superiority complex and feeling like I have to be better than other people.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, it is, oh, we're all kind of doing this thing together.
Yeah.
And we can do it together.
I also think it's like she definitely wanted to be better than everybody because she wanted them to like her.
Yeah.
And that ultimately did not serve her in the goal of getting people to like her. And I think she learns that over the course of this evening, the way to actually make friends is to just meet people where they are and be kind and, you know, show up for them in whatever ways that they need, you know? I think it's a great example of that. And I love that in this movie. There are so many moments between Amy and Molly where I was like, this is me and my friends. Like, this is why I have the friends that I have. And I hold on to those people. And I've said this on the podcast before. If you meet somebody who can yes and with you, you befriend that person. Because that person is your kind of silly. And like, it's not the same kind of person that would have like yes and with me. It's like such a specific personality that matches with yours. Hold on to those people. I love those people.
Yes.
And
so we cut to the next morning. The Hail to the Chief ringtone. She basically, Molly wakes up to 1.5 million texts of videos of Amy getting arrested.
Yeah.
So she takes off for jail. She gets to the jail.
The video of her like running down the hallway at the cops and being like, eat it pigs or whatever she says to create the diversion.
They also, as they're arresting her, she's giving them a lecture on the privatized prison system.
Yes. It's
great.
Oh my God. I loved it.
But it also circles back to all her bumper stickers of like War in 2020. And like when Hope is like, shouldn't you be like protesting something stupid right now? So it's like, this is just her vibe. She's like a social justice warrior. That's sort of her, who she is.
Yeah.
And she's finally like living her bumper stickers.
100%.
But they roll up to the jail. And I do love this scene between them where they're both like, I'm sorry. We both had fault in this. We both talked it out. We are still friends, but like, I'm glad we talked through that.
Yeah.
And now we got to go to fucking graduation. She's like, I'm in jail. I can't. And this is where she slaps the mugshot on the glass and is like, we're going to get you out because we do know about this man. We have seen this man. And it is the pizza delivery guy.
The pizza guy. And I love how specific his look is and how much the sketch looks just like him.
Just like him.
So good.
Yes. This is where we get that amazing Run the Jewels song because they get into Jared's car and it is then shot like a high-speed chase.
Yeah.
Because it's like... The Waze says 19 minutes. We're doing it in 7. Which is...
What I really love is they take off and you see the light.
Yeah.
And the light is yellow and it doesn't turn red till after they're through it. So like they're not.
Everything.
So
yeah. I thought that was very funny too. I mean, they are like swerving between lanes and I think they even go across the double lane, which is illegal. But like everything else is just them sort of abiding or breaking the smallest rules. And it's so funny. Yeah.
Barely breaking the law.
So good. I also loved that it was the Glendale courthouse jail. Which is like,
so funny.
Oh, I don't know how they ended up in there. Like, where was this house? But yeah.
I love the graduation stuff before they get there is so funny to me because Gideon Gemstone is talking to the principal and the principal's like, well, she's not here. Like, whatever. He's like, she told me to tell you that, and he starts like reciting like the Senate.
Yeah, in the Senate, this happens all the time, and so I could be the proxy.
It's like a filibuster kind of thing.
Yeah, and he's so like, that funny. Sounds like her.
Yeah,
Go
he's
ahead.
like, okay,
that's
fuck
fine.
it, I approve.
I believe you now.
Go.
But we also have Gigi playing piano while this is happening.
Yes.
With tassels on her sunglasses.
Instead of him going up there and explaining what's going on, like, hey, she's not here yet. I'm just going to vamp until she gets here and she can deliver her speech. He just starts her speech. And without saying, I'm going to go ahead and start her, he just starts her speech.
As a woman.
Yes. It's so funny. It is such the wrong thing to do.
Cute.
But he earnestly is trying to do a very good job. And I love it.
So cute.
Like, it's just so cute.
But this is also where we get Miss Fine hitting her rock bottom because she purrs into who she thinks is Theo's ear and she just goes, hey, Evelyn. Hey, like it's just somebody else.
Well, she shows up with a and then she's like, that's what the kids are doing now, right?
And then she does it to other kids like it's the worst rap ad lib ever. It's so funny.
So good.
Amazing. And then runs back into Theo and he's like, I had a great time. And she was like, okay, yeah, no, this is, I gotta,
yeah, I'm out.
And as it happens, Molly and Amy jump the car through the fence to get to graduation. And I do love that from the stage, Jared is like, oh, my car is fucked up.
Yeah.
No.
They do a really good job of establishing him as like super rich. So like, you don't really worry about his car.
No.
He clearly isn't worried about it because like when he goes over and like what happens, we'll get to it. He doesn't give a shit about his car.
It's fine.
So like it makes us as an audience not care that front end is destroyed.
Destroyed. But they run in. Everyone's excited to see Amy because, you know, she was in jail.
She was in jail. Yeah, there's no way everyone's like, nah, man, they opened up Sing Sing for her.
And then Molly gets on the stage and she and Jared make out. Like, it's not just a kiss. This is like make out.
Now, Paige, you allude to them having some time off screen together. And I wonder if it's because in this moment, when she kisses him, I think he expected it.
Yes. Yeah, it very much has a vibe of they hooked up the night before.
I thought so
and
too.
Didn't tell anybody.
But we didn't see it, and it might not have happened. Whatever. Yeah.
Who knows?
This is a rumor that Gigi told me. But I got those vibes too.
Yeah. We cut to, they have a fun short graduation speech. It goes great. We cut to them packing for Amy to go to Africa. This is where we get the scene with Ling Ling the panda.
Yes.
Because her parents don't know that the panda is what she uses to masturbate.
And Lisa Kudrow is like kissing it and putting her face in it.
Oh, like nuzzling it. And Amy's like, don't kiss the face, Mom. Get it out of your face.
Please don't.
And then Will Forte comes to like Ling Ling and goes to touch it. And Molly comes and just pushes
Slaps
it
out of
down.
his
Like spikes it out of his hands. It's so great.
She's like, no.
But the reason Will Forte came in the room is because there's someone there to see Amy, and it turns out to be Hope.
Yeah.
Who basically is like, yeah, I know this was weird, but here's your underwear back, and like, it was kind of hot, so like, here's my number, and like, maybe we figure something out. But the best part is Molly watching from the window, losing her mind.
Those 3 or 4 reaction shots we get are perfect, Paige.
Well, and I think this is a great because they're about to go off and do their own separate lives.
Yep.
And they kind of had that for the party. So this is them realizing they can be excited about the things that they do separate and be excited to tell each other about it and all of it.
Yeah.
100%.
But we cut to them taking Amy to the airport where she does tease her about accidentally trying to finger Hope's butthole instead of her vulva. But it's a very sad moment where she's like, I'm not going to see her for a year. Like, this is brutal. She gets out. It seems like she's left. But then she comes back and is like, fuck it. I could be the last person on the plane. Let's get pancakes.
Before we do the And That's the Movie, could I say something?
Uh-huh.
Yes.
This movie nails what it's really like to drop a loved one off at the airport.
Yes.
Yeah.
The too many goodbyes, and then they have to get their stuff out of the back.
Yeah, and it's like you want to get out of your car and like hug them goodbye and do like a real goodbye, but like people are fucking trying to get in your spot, and it's like such a chaotic drop-off point that there's just no time for that, and it really showcases that awkwardness.
I will say it seemed from this location that this is the Burbank airport and not LAX.
It is LAX. Because
Is
I thought the
it?
same thing. Because I was like, they live near the Burbank airport. This is where it would be. But it's an international flight, which would mean LAX.
Okay,
But
that's
if you
true,
look in the
that's true.
background, you could see the spider.
Oh,
Like the big,
okay.
yeah.
I didn't see it. But I was wondering, because, so if you, insider tip, Los Angeles airport insider tip, Burbank is a much more chill airport. Like, if you show up to Burbank 20 minutes before your flight, you're probably fine. You're going to make that flight. If you show up to your flight 20 minutes before your flight at LAX, you are missing that flight 100% because security takes at least an hour.
You're going to miss it by like an hour and a half.
By a lot.
Yeah.
Well, as someone who is going to fly into LAX on the 28th.
Why would you do that to yourself?
Why would you do that?
Work, man.
There's a direct flight from Tennessee to Burbank.
There are 3 of us meeting in LA. We're all renting a car and driving to Palm Springs where this convention is. Yeah.
I told him he should have flown into Ontario because then you're even closer to Palm Springs. But
that's true.
Next time. Anyway.
Insider knowledge.
I appreciate the tip. So when I go back on my like 6 a.m. flight or whatever, I'll get to LAX at 4.
Which is when the airport opens, by the way.
Yep.
Okay. Good to know.
There you go.
Oh, and that's the movie.
movie.
So having seen the movie and we talked about the movie, what'd you guys think about Booksmart?
10 out of 10.
Yeah, so good.
One of the best movies. I mean, like, just, it's so well written. I don't feel like there are any loose ends they don't tie up.
The one thing I would say that I think of, not necessarily as a loose end, but a missed moment, is confirming that Hope gave the number and said, like, call me. We never see what that note says. It's heavily implied it's her phone number.
Yeah.
But we never see it. I wanted to see it.
Just so you could dial the number.
No, I just wanted, it's like a moment that you see in a lot of movies and we didn't get one here.
Yeah.
I think of it as the, do you like apples moment? It's like that kind of thing, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway, but I agree. Like, I think this movie is so well written. It's so fun. If you're a guy and you like Superbad, you'll love this movie. Like, I don't think it did amazingly because it is such a...
I never heard of it.
I had never heard of it until Paige started mentioning it. And in fairness, she's mentioned it since it came out.
I have advocated for this movie to be on this podcast for quite some time.
We actually, so we were going to do like a bromance month, and this is the first time I heard of it because this was going to be your pick for bromance month, which I think it fits for that too.
I have a number of picks for bromance month, but I had potentially put this into the running, although I think it has enough romance for both of them.
I think it does, yeah. It's got as much as Angus.
Yeah.
So I don't think you're out of left field. That's not what I meant. But anyway. But Paige, do you have any fun facts for us?
Yes.
Well, here it is with your fun facts.
Booksmart fun facts. So Olivia Wilde directed this movie, which is why people were so excited for her subsequent directorial efforts that were unfortunately not as good as this.
Well, can I say this really quick? Writing is super important.
This script was written by 4 women, though. I looked it up because I was like, this script is so fucking good. Who wrote this? And like, all of these women are comedian writers and talented.
Yeah.
The primary scriptwriter, whose name I'm sorry I don't remember, has worked and done so much TV that I love. So like when I looked it up, I was like, never heard of this person, but this makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Like that was her pedigree of shows that she had been in the room for, you know?
Yep. So Olivia Wilde, who directed this, encouraged Caitlin Dever and Beanie Feldstein to live together to establish a rapport between them. They ended up being roommates for 10 weeks.
I love that.
Which is a long time to live with somebody that you're not going to live with, you know, like for real in an apartment.
Well, and they're both like professional working actresses. They probably don't need roommates, you know, like, so yeah.
I think you overestimate the pay of professional working actors.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, maybe. I hope not.
So in one of the interviews that's on the DVD, Billie Lourd, who plays Gigi, wanted to do the yacht dive herself.
Oh my God.
And was advocating for doing it herself. However, the producers told her that they would normally hire a stunt diver, not only because of the danger involved, but also the water near the yacht was so dirty that she would need to wear a tampon and a few other pieces of protective equipment because she could get an infection.
Ew.
Yes. So at that point, she let the stunt woman do it. The stunt woman's name is Heidi Pasco, and she is a professional cave diver, which is why it looks so good. Yes. Olivia Wilde encouraged the cast to rewrite any dialogue that felt inauthentic to their characters. So that does happen a little bit.
Love that when you like lean on good actors. That's great.
Beanie Feldstein initially read the script for another role that was written out. When Olivia Wilde was brought on to direct, she shifted and had Beanie read for the lead role of Molly. So that was one of the first changes Olivia Wilde made, and I think it was a good, good call.
That's so crazy to me, but only because Molly is so perfectly cast.
In the movie, Amy is an out lesbian and Molly is straight, but in real life, the opposite is true. Beanie Feldstein is out and queer, and Caitlin Dever is straight. However, Caitlin Dever has played a lesbian more than once on TV.
Amy is the one that I saw in Unbelievable, and I believe that she could do anything. Like, she is such a good actor in that series specifically, although it's very hard to watch. So know that going in.
Yeah. Olivia Wilde has said that Breakfast Club, Fast Times at Ridgemont High, Dazed and Confused, and Clueless were inspiration for this film. I think that definitely comes through.
Yes.
Tracks. Love Clueless.
Because this is set in Hollywood, in Los Angeles, a lot of the other kids that they cast around them are industry children. This is a kind of a Nepo movie.
Yeah.
Beanie Feldstein is Jonah Hill's sister, obviously.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
It does make so much sense.
I see it in her face
so
now.
Alike too. Yeah.
Wow.
Mason Gooding is Cuba Gooding Jr.'s son. Molly Gordon, who plays AAA, is the daughter of screenwriter Jesse Nelson and TV director Brian Gordon. Billy Lord is the daughter of Agent Brian Lord and Carrie Fisher. So a lot of Nepo. So the first draft of the script was written in 2009.
Oh, wow.
That makes sense to me, actually.
It feels slightly older. It has a refreshing crassness that the early 2000s high school movies have that modern ones don't necessarily have. However, the next movie we're doing has it in spades. So it's just like we're having a great month of real mean high school movies that I kind of love.
That's also only 2 years after Superbad was out, right? So it does feel very like this was inspired a lot by that, and they just like fixed a lot of the stuff that was not great in Superbad.
Now, originally, in the original version of this, neither of the girls was an out queer character. Susanna Fogel did a rewrite on the script, and at that point shifted Amy's character to being queer, which I do think adds a layer to this movie that belongs there.
I agree. And I love seeing an out queer character whose parents are supportive.
Yes.
Especially like seeing, because I think that is becoming more normal, and we are seeing more parents that are like okay with that, but also clueless. Like they're accepting, but they really don't understand what it means.
Guys, that is 1000% my mother. I have a trans sibling, and when they came out as gay initially, I was much younger. My mom seemed so excited that she, quote, had one in the family. Like, that's the kind of supportive my mom is. And I mean that as like
that's so
she
cute.
was so excited to be supportive of that. And they eventually came out as trans, and they're married and they're fucking doing great. Like, they're awesome. But because of that, I was, when it touches your family personally, even though I grew up in the South, I was always very like pro-gay rights and then trans rights because of that evolution. So I have to like credit a lot of my like liberal thinking on that with my sibling. Just their strength.
And your mom, I guess.
And my mom for showing the example, but like really like Sam's strength to like come out when they believed it was true, and like they just lived that life. I like so proud of them for that. But it made a huge impact positively on me. Yeah. Which is why I think this this kind of story belongs in this movie.
Yeah.
So it fits so well. Yeah.
I've never officially come out to my mom and my stepdad because they're super Catholic, and like I think they would be fine with it, maybe, but they have said some things in the past that are like, well, sure. But I came out to my dad officially, like, I want to say just last year. I was like, oh, I should probably tell my dad I'm bi, because I've mostly dated men. And I was like, oh, Dad, just so you know, because this was at a period when I was single. And I was like, oh, Dad, just so you know, like, I am bi. So if I ever date a woman, that might happen. I just want to, like, prepare you for it. And he goes, I kind of figured. And that was it. That was kind of our whole conversation. And my dad, I really don't think, my dad is someone who just doesn't really care about how other people live their lives as long as they're not causing harm.
Sure.
So he just is like, oh yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
So last few fun facts. The score and a lot of the choices for the soundtrack were made by Dan the Automator, who is a legendary DJ and producer.
Crushed it.
Yeah, crushed it. Dan the Automator's done things for a lot of music movies that you love. He did some stuff for Scott Pilgrim and a few other things. So
nice. Yeah.
Let's end on this just because I thought it was really interesting. Amy has a ton of patches on her jackets and her hats. They're kind of everywhere. And one of them features the symbol of the Mercury 7 astronaut program. It's a little confusing as to why she would have that, because the Mercury 7 were men, and she doesn't mention any interest in space. people asked the costume designers about this, and they mentioned that they got all of her political patches from local LA thrift stores, which is a thing. You can, if you want political, like vintage political patches, LA is the place to find them in thrift stores.
Awesome.
They didn't know what it was for, and they thought it was a feminist symbol because it looks like the Venus symbol used by many feminists. And those are your fun facts.
Well, thank you for those fun facts, Paige. Let's talk a little bit about box office. So what do you think the production budget was for Booksmart when it came out in 2019?
This was an indie movie at the time. So I'm actually going to say 12 million.
Okay.
I was going to say 10.
Okay. I'm actually happy to report this only cost $6 million.
Wow.
Looks great for $6 million.
I think Olivia Wilde did a great job at that budget to produce this movie, even just production quality alone.
Well, you also have mostly unknown actors and young,
at the time,
Nepo baby kids and stuff like
sure,
that. So that makes sense.
But this movie premiered on May 24th, 2019. It was 6th in the box office the week it came out. It was beat by a very seminal movie, but a remake for Andrea, and that was Aladdin, was number 1 that week. John 2, Chapter 3, Parabellum was 2. Avengers Endgame was 3. Pokemon Detective Pikachu was 4. And Brightburn was 5. Obviously, Booksmart right under that at 6th.
I haven't seen any of these.
I saw almost all of those, and some of them in theaters even.
I saw Avengers Endgame and Pikachu while it was in theaters, so definitely.
I saw Aladdin in theaters as well.
Oh.
Was it good?
It's not as bad as I thought it would be.
Okay. I'm not vibing with the remakes.
Actually, I went and saw Detective Pikachu in Japan, and I just checked the release date. I was in Japan when this came out.
Oh, hey.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Anyway, what do you think it brought in its opening weekend when it was 6th?
Like 3 mil.
Yeah, I was going to say like 2.5.
I'm so happy to report again, it made almost $7 million. Even though it was 6th, it made $6.9 million.
I knew
it made all
this
its money
eventually
back.
did well.
I would say it should have done way better for how good it is, but it made its money back in its first week, like Andrea just said. Absolutely.
Well, I never heard of it, so I assume they just didn't do a lot of marketing, because all the other movies you mentioned I heard of. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
But Paige is right. Indie movies don't typically get a marketing budget of a substantial size. So it was probably a lot of word of mouth. And that sort of comes through. Like, it was 6th in its first week. It was 8th in its second week and 10th in its third week. Like, it stayed in the top 10 for 3 weeks, which is not super common, even for movies that get way higher than 6th.
Yeah, I had heard about it because it did come out at South by Southwest before this. So it had the indie buzz. So people who knew to look for it went and saw it. I think this did way better in streaming after, which I think is why Olivia Wilde kind of got carte blanche to make whatever she wanted after this, because A, this is so good.
Yeah.
And B, I think this did make its budget and then some back.
Yeah.
Well, we'll talk about that right now, actually. So what do you think it made at the domestic box office?
14?
I'm going to go 18.
Guys, it made $22.6 million. It did better. Like, I think that's great. I think both of those guesses made sense, but it did better. It also made 2.2 internationally for a total of $24.9 million. So on a $6 million budget to make almost 30 is not bad.
That's
if
really
you adjust
good.
for inflation, it in fact is a little over 30. It did go to streaming and they paid for that. I actually do have a little bit of DVD and Blu-ray sales information, and it made almost $2 million in those.
Wow.
So yeah, it did really well, but it's such a great movie that's not a surprise to me.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think it should have done better, but probably didn't have enough money to promote it the way they should to get it up to like $100 million movie.
I will say, when did Bridesmaids come out? Because this...
Way before this, but yeah.
But Bridesmaids was so revolutionary in the ways that it created female lead comedies.
Yeah.
It was 2011, and I completely agree. And I had to go see it by myself because my guy friends wouldn't go with me.
Yeah.
And I saw it and then took them to it. I was like, it's so good. You have to come see this.
Yeah.
But it seemed like Bridesmaids seemed like more it was going to be like a chick flick.
Yes.
When it first came out. And then you saw it and you're like, oh, this is fucking hilarious.
Exactly. I think that's the way they marketed it, because all my friends were like, it's a chick flick. I don't want to go see that. And I was like, it's a comedy. Trust me. It's so funny.
Yeah.
And then when they saw it, they were like, yeah, this is great. But I think that that's sort of this movie too. Like, this is such a great movie.
This movie was clearly written around the time and then got optioned. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it was of that era of like, oh, women can do this too.
Yeah. You know what movie that reminds me of? The Heat with Sandra Bullock and Melissa McCarthy.
I've actually never seen
I haven't seen it.
Honestly, I loved it. But
is it really funny?
I think it's hilarious. We don't have time to get into it.
Terrible reviews, but yeah,
I thought it was funny. Yeah. Anyway, but that's your box office. So,
okay.
Paige, do you want to hit us with that romance scale?
Sure. Our romance scale, Mikey put it to 4, so I will leave it at 4 in his memory.
Absolutely.
It's a scale from 1 to 4. How romantic we found the movie. Andrea.
I think for a romance, it's like a 1 or a 2 because they're just kids goofing around. But
Yeah.
I think for friendship romance, it's a 4.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
I would agree.
Yeah. So for me, it's a 1 because I don't really see a lot of like lasting love interests in this. But
No.
for if it's a friend scale, fucking 5 out of 10. Like, or sorry, 10 out of
4
5.
out of 4.
4 out of 4. Like, it's so good. It's so good.
It is great. And no lions. Well, maybe a lion roar for the
back
the
door?
butthole?
Is that what you're
For the
about to
back
say?
door?
Listen, if
Maybe.
it rhymes, I'm going to go for it, you know?
All
And
right.
The funny thing about that was Hope wasn't not into it.
I know that she was like confused, but
Well, I know. No, I mean, she came back and was like, "You're not terrible, so like maybe call me."
yeah. Don't throw up on me next time.
Ooh,
But
I'm out. Yeah. So that's your romance scale.
Yeah.
we did it.
So Andrea, thank you so much for guesting on this episode.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
And if you could tell all of our listeners where they can see more of what you do.
So I'm mostly an artist nowadays. So you can find me at Andrea Guzzetta on Instagram and Threads. I'm also on a new app called Photo at Andrea Guzzetta or AndreaGuzzetta.com. You can check out my shop. I got all these cute prints. I got Pokemon. I got little furry animals in floating worlds. It's pink. It's fun. It's like if Lisa Frank forgot her Xanax.
You're on the Liquid Death box.
Oh, I am on a Liquid Death box. So if you buy the green guillotine flavor of Liquid Death, I'm on the box, which is pretty tight. So like, please buy my art. I have a Patreon. You can get stickers. You get like, I ship 6 stickers every other month. So there's 2 versions of 3 designs every other month. So patreon.com/Andrea Guzzetta. Paige has her stickers. Oh my God.
I literally talked about the painting that you did for us when Pupcake died. I love that
So
thing.
many stickers.
So many
Oh my God,
stickers.
Paige, that is a lot of stickers.
I have a sticker stash that I add them to.
So many. And if you listen late and it's in September, on September 21st, if you're in Los Angeles, I will have a solo show at Corey Helford Gallery, 7 p.m. Come hang out.
Hell yeah.
Yay.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I love you guys. I'll talk to you later.
Yeah. So, Paige, do you have a review for us to read?
No.
But before, just so we can keep up the bit,
Sure. Of course.
while I'm also looking up
A review?
a review, let me also look up our most recent Spotify comments and read one of those. This is from our Forgetting Sarah Marshall episode, and this is going to be from, oh, good Lord. This is going to be from Anne Marie, and they say, Todd's sick voice matches his hunkiness upgrade in the new podcast artwork.
Ooh.
And that shocks me because I thought that took like 2 weeks to update, and I did not know that it had already changed. Okay.
Oh, I didn't know that had changed either. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, all right.
Cool. So thank you so much for that. I appreciate the fact that you think I'm only hunkiness when I'm sick, but whatever. Let me bring up also a review.
I don't know if we've done this one before, so if we did, I'm sorry. But this review is called Oh Pancake Daddy by BG45. So if you got your review read twice, congratulations. A great trio of hosts who play off one another perfectly, even if one is drunk, as jokes fly about shampoo and Pancake Daddy. The review show you didn't know you needed for romantic comedies, new and old, balancing humor, analysis, and why some of everyone's favorites aged as well as the guy who chose the wrong cup in Last Crusade. Just a request for future consideration. The Mormon comedy, The Singles Ward. It aged poorly, but is utterly hilarious, even if you don't get the thank you.
And if you could, tell all of our listeners where they can see more of what you do.
So I'm mostly an artist nowadays. So you can find me at Andrea Guzzetta on Instagram and Threads. I'm also on a new app called Photo at Andrea Guzzetta or AndreaGuzzetta.com. You can check out my shop. I got all these cute prints. I got Pokemon. I got little furry animals in floating worlds. It's pink. It's fun. It's like if Lisa Frank forgot her Xanax.
You're on the Liquid Death box.
Oh, I am on a Liquid Death box. So if you buy the green guillotine flavor of Liquid Death, I'm on the box, which is pretty tight. So, like, please buy my art. I have a Patreon. You can get stickers. You get, like, I ship 6 stickers every other month. So there's 2 versions of 3 designs every other month. So patreon.com/Andrea Guzzetta. Paige has her stickers. Oh my God.
I literally talked about the painting that you did for us when Pupcake died. I love that
So
thing.
many stickers.
So many
Oh my God,
stickers.
Paige, that is a lot of stickers.
I have a sticker stash that I add them to.
So many. And if you listen late and it's in September, on September 21st, if you're in Los Angeles, I will have a solo show at Corey Helford Gallery, 7 p.m. Come hang out.
Hell yeah.
Yay.
All
Yeah.
right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I love you guys. I'll talk to you later.
Yeah. So, Paige, do you have a review for us to read?
No.
But before, just so we can keep up the bit,
Sure. Of course.
while I'm also looking up
A review?
a review, let me also look up our most recent Spotify comments and read one of those. This is from our Forgetting Sarah Marshall episode, and this is going to be from, oh, good Lord. This is going to be from Anne Marie, and they say, Todd's sick voice matches his hunkiness upgrade in the new podcast artwork.
Ooh.
And that shocks me because I thought that took like 2 weeks to update, and I did not know that it had already changed. Okay.
Oh, I didn't know that had changed either. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, all right.
Cool. So thank you so much for that. I appreciate the fact that you think I'm only hunkiness when I'm sick, but whatever. Let me bring up also a review.
I don't know if we've done this one before, so if we did, I'm sorry. But this review is called Oh Pancake Daddy by BG45. So if you got your review read twice, congratulations. A great trio of hosts who play off one another perfectly, even if one is drunk, as jokes fly about shampoo and Pancake Daddy. The review show you didn't know you needed for romantic comedies, new and old, balancing humor, analysis, and why some of everyone's favorites aged as well as the guy who chose the wrong cup in Last Crusade. Just a request for future consideration. The Mormon comedy, The Singles Ward, it aged poorly but is utterly hilarious, even if you don't get the Mormon in-jokes and cameos. Yes, we did do this one because you had to tell us who Mormon cameos would be.
Yes, I remember that
and
too.
they dropped a car out of a plane on 9/11. You know what? I'm glad we're reading this again because that's still fun. Still good to know.
Well, thank you so much, BG45, for that 5-star review. And if you want to have us read your Spotify comment or 5-star review, do one of those things, and we will reciprocate. So this week, Paige, you made us watch Booksmart, and thank you so much for that. Next week,
you're welcome.
I will be making us all watch a movie that came out a little while ago in theaters, and I wanted to see it then, but I decided to hold off watching it until we did it for the show, and that is Bottoms.
I did not hold off. I love Bottoms, and I'm very excited to talk about it.
Everything I knew about Bottoms, I heard from you. So I knew you had already seen it, but I really wanted to see it because what you described sounded like it was very, very funny. So
it's hysterical, and it is held up upon multiple reviewings and me forcing other people to watch it. So I'm very excited.
When I finished the movie we watched today, Booksmart, it said, "Do you want to watch Bottoms next?" So
yes.
I was like,
knows.
you know what? I do. So yeah, why don't I pick that next time?
There you go.
Like that's literally why I thought to do this next.
All right.
Anyway, so your homework is to watch Bottoms for next week.
And that's going to be it for us, you guys. I'm Paige.
And I'm Todd.
And you complete us
to completion. Bye!
Booksmart, baby!
This movie was fucking great, nerds!